Well, hello, welcome back. It is Thursday, May the 15th, 2025. We're going to have a slightly different format for the show today. We might only be running 2 hours. I don't know. You know how undecisive I am. But we're here on WBN 324 for the next couple of hours. This is Paul English Live, and welcome to the show. All systems appear to be go. If you get any feedback with things falling away at Rumble, although it seems to be okay right now, please let us know in the chat there on Rumble. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you've had a good week. Yeah, it's a whole big, fat, juicy, cuddly week. Rather grisly weather here today. We always like to talk with the weather, but we can't really complain, even though I'm about to. We've had sunshine aplenty for the last 4 or 5 weeks where I am, and my walks have resulted in me turning brown as a berry. Well, okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not bad. You know, I look reasonably healthier than I did in the middle of the winter. We've had a lot of fun here in the UK. The Prime Minister, that chap, has been coming out with the most abundant amounts of bilge for a long time. He's outdoing himself, and I'm tending to the view that possibly one of the reasons why they've installed him is that he makes even Joe Biden, do you remember him in America? He makes even Joe Biden look intelligent. And that's quite a thing, isn't it? I mean, they've actually got a guy, supposedly, in Keith Starmer. This is what everybody's calling him over here in the media, Keith. If you're called Keith, that must be quite a worry. And it is kind of funny, though, isn't it? It's quite funny, Keith Starmer. Keith, although, you know, we've got some other more rather vulgar epithets for him around here. No doubt they might come up over the next few hours during the show. We're due to be joined by a guest at some point, although can't see hiding a hair of him. He may have got lost in the hinterlands of America right now, so he may not join us, but he's on the billing. Eli James is possibly due to join us at some point. I've been sending messages through and all that and the other, but he might come in within about half an hour or so. But of course, I am joined by the wonderful Eric von Essex. And Eric, good evening to you. How are you, sir?
Mustn't grumble, and it's rather gloomy, cloudy here as well, and the temperature's dropped quite considerably. I've had my pullover on today. It's been, it's not as warm as it was yesterday, but anyway, that's life, isn't it?
Your woolly jumper.
Way, I think
you're wearing a woolly jumper.
Got my woolly jumper on, and I think I know why they call our dear and gracious leader Keith. There was a play called Nuts in May that was done in the early 70s.
Yes,
and the chap in that was called Keith. And his attitude was a little bit like Starmer. Is that right, Keith? Yeah, it's all right, Keith. Yes, righto.
Righto. It was very precise, wasn't he? And he was always looking at the Ordnance Survey map and things like this. And this won't do. He was one of those officious types.
Yes.
It was.
And do you know there was no script to that? They actually made it up as they went along. And that is the brilliance of it.
Isn't that worrying, though? It's worrying if you're that actor that played Keith. That's a bit much. I wonder if he actually took that with him into the rest of his life, because that would be very difficult to live around, wouldn't it? Keith. And what was the name of that actress? She was very young at the time, but she went on to become quite famous. And I can't. Alison Steadman. That was it. Look at
Alison Steadman.
My brain's working.
Alison, what was that? Somebody's party. She was famous for. What was that?
Abigail's party.
Abigail's party.
Oh, my giddy aunt. Oh, that's horrific.
Keith. Is it right, Keith? You should got to chew nuts 120 times before you swallow them.
Somebody look that clip up. We can play it in the show. Why didn't you bring this up pre-show? I could have found it.
It's on YouTube.
I'll find it at some point when someone's blathering. I'll go and dig it up, and then we'll bring it back into the show at a point that's completely inopportune and totally irrelevant to what we're talking about. But good grief, yeah. I didn't you mention this a few months ago, because I shot off, and I think at the time I started watching some of it, and it's difficult to watch for more than like 5 minutes at a time. It's awful. It's truly dreadful.
When they was playing the guitar and singing, and a bloke goes over to him and he says, "Would you like to join us in the second verse?" He just can't sitting there, and the embarrassment. I was actually cringing and feeling embarrassed for bloke.
No one's going to, if you haven't seen it, anybody that's not seen this has no idea what we're banging on about. We're like a couple of old farts in the middle of nowhere. They won't have a clue at all. But I know. You brought it up, or someone brought it up a couple of months ago. I went off and watched 10 or 15 minutes. It's toe-curlingly awful to watch. It's really, truly awful, isn't it? I don't mean badly done. I mean, it's just got these characters in it that you just wouldn't want to spend any time with in your life, ever. They're just awful.
Do you see that scene? Do you see that scene where the copper stops them? And apparently they had umpteen takes. I don't know whether they're a little bit wee-weed or not, but you see the smile in the copper's face. The bloke was actually in the part of the copper. I couldn't do it for laughing. He just couldn't do it, because everything that Keith did was precise, and he had this Morris 1000 car, and the policeman said, "Do you want to have a look in your boot?" And he, or trunk, as you call it in America, lifts the trunk up, and he says, "Your tyre, your spare tyre, it's as bald as a baby's bum," he said. Hey, I'll get that changed straight away, officer. Terribly sorry.
Well, look, we've banged on about it so much. It would be wrong not to play some of it, and I've found a bit. This is awful. You've brought this up. I had all these plans for the show, Eric. It's gone right down the old toilet straight away. This is, by the way, you know Richard Vobes. Oh, you know of Richard Vobes. He's nearby to me. When I saw him at Christmas, this is all he wanted to talk about. I think he'd just been watching it, but he was doing this. Anyway, here we go. So listen, this is the toe-cringingly, this is the music thing. I don't know, the show won't recover after this. You do realise this, Eric. We're not going to recover after we've played this. Okay, so here we go. This is the Zoo song from Nuts in May.
Oh my God, no. Oh, dear.
Well, you asked for it. It's 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Listen, everybody, if you're out there, this is a strangely English show. So if you're in America, you probably haven't a clue what we're banging on about. This is English eccentricity at its best. Those of you who know what's coming up, I suggest brace yourselves and make sure that you've taken extra cringe protection tablets, because this is truly wonderfully awful. Anyway, here we go. This is the Zoo song, a little scene from Nuts in May.
Is that a banjo?
Yes, that's one of our interests. I have a banjo and Candice Marie has a guitar. Would you like to show your guitar to Ray, Candice Marie?
What?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we make up songs together. We went on a trip up to London one day last year and made up a song about going to the zoo. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, why not?
All right. You have a girlfriend, Ray?
Pardon?
You have a girlfriend?
No.
Oh, are you married?
I can't afford it.
Well, money isn't everything when you're in love. Is it, Candice Marie?
No, Keith.
Well, I usually take the time from Candice Marie, anyway. Candice Marie sings the first and the third line, and then I come in with the second line, and we both sing the last line together. This is Candice Marie's first line.
I want to see the zoo, she said, I want to see the zoo.
My line, I want to take you there, he said, I want to go with you.
I want
The
to
third
see
line.
the lions and the tigers.
Last line. I want to see the zoo, she said, I want to see the zoo. You sing, Ray?
Well, I chant a bit,
What, madrigals?
No.
What sort of thing?
Well, I don't think they'd be quite suitable here,
I think that's enough, Eric. I can't take much more of that. I can't.
Actually, after the show, go onto YouTube and use the acting was brilliant because the bloke who is supposed to join in on the verse, he looked really uncomfortable, didn't he? It's just marvellous.
I know.
Nuts in May.
Nuts in May.
It really
is. I think there's a Nuts in May fan club, right? Or something. They have conventions. Yeah, seriously. It's like a cult classic. I don't think it would travel well outside of England, this. In fact, I'm sure anybody outside of our culture would be completely bemused by why we would find that so fantastically awful. But it's just full of all these extremely, I don't know, anally retentive characters, particularly the main guy, who's just so precise and exhausting and bloody boring, unbelievable. Yeah. Because the definition of being bored, when someone's boring you, there's certain things that are going on. I think one of them is they're incapable of discerning between the interesting parts of the story and the supporting detail. It's all delivered at the same thing, as if it's got exactly the same sort of emphasis, and they provide you with so much detail. You just sat there getting hypnotized and going, shut up. Basically that's sort of please shut up. Shut up.
Yeah.
And it's like that throughout this thing, isn't it?
Candice Marie's doing the first verse. Mm-hmm. That's right. But what does he have to tell you with that shitting in the first verse, and he's going to come in on the second?
That's what I mean.
Why do you need to know it?
You do. Candice is wearing pink socks. We do this in pink socks. It's just all this what's this got to do with anything? There's no sort of sense about the whole thing. So, remarkable. Remarkable stuff. Anyway, that's the end of the show, everybody. It's only lasted 12 minutes. I'm feeling a bit unwell. We didn't get too far today. But quick shout out to everybody in Rumble who this week can actually see and hear. Well, at least they can see the show image. We had a lot of problems last week. It flipped us over into something else. And I thought it was going to do it again today. I hate talking technicals, but I end up having to do it, unfortunately, because it's internet streaming and it sometimes occurs. But it kicked in bang on at 8 o'clock. So I think what occurs is that it won't actually connect it up until 8 anyway. Last week, what it did was it slung the feed over into the channel for the account as opposed to this Paul English Live channel. Everybody's thrilled to hear this kind of stuff, aren't they? Again and again and again. But there we go. So, but we seem to be up and running.
Keith. Yeah.
That's
right, Keith. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hang on, just a minute. Just a minute. That's a bit irritating. Stop that. That's a bit of loop back there. I'm just checking to see if we're on YouTube, and as you can tell from that, we jolly well are. So we're running okay on YouTube as well. So, yep, cool. So shout out to everybody on YouTube. And everybody on Rumble, everybody on WBN 324, our radio outlet, everybody on Radio SOAPBOX. We're also going out on Eurofolk Radio as well, because I'm just like that. And we're probably on, I think it's Freefall Radio South Africa as well. We're going out on that. And we may be on Radio Windmiller and Global Voice Network. So there we go. And across that, we've got tens of thousands of listeners. Well, we might not, but we're doing okay, and it's just good to be back. I'm so surprised by not having any technical problems that I just want to talk about them anyway, which is ridiculously stupid of me, but there you go. So anyway, did you manage
it flung me out.
It what?
I actually think there was a software problem because it did something on my show on the Sunday, and I think they might have sorted it by now, looking on the right side.
I think there was definitely some hitches last week. So thanks everybody last week for being so patient. It did cause a little sort of blip in interest with the show on YouTube, although, of course, I've no idea how long that could possibly last or whatever, but so far, so good, So maybe because we're not overtly streaming video or running around, with false moustaches on, if you get my drift, and things like this, they're going to leave us alone, so it's not too bad. Yeah. Anyway, the little sort of, at least the initial framing thought for today's show, bearing in mind Mr. Starmer's communication. Well, he's had a bit of a week, hasn't he? I want to get over to sort of like the essence of law with regard to race at some point. We will get into that. But I've just been, rather very amused by what's been happening, even for Starmer's inept and completely bungling, stupid and hypocritical standards. It's just been an amazing sort of few days, don't you think, Eric? I mean, I don't know if you're up to speed with everything he's done. Yeah. There was the thing with meeting Macron and that little bag of powder on the table. Did you see that?
Yes. someone in chat said it is the Marrakesh Express, wasn't it? You know,
Is that what it was?
Crosby, Stills and Nash. Because I used to think that song was about a nice choo-choo train going through to Marrakesh. No, it's about drugs.
No, it's about a 442 locomotive built at the Hunslet Loco Works. Surely that's what it means. I want to get all anal like that. Oh, yeah, it was built. Yeah, and those, it was all about a proper steam engine. It's a great song. I love songs about trains too. Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, that was one of my favourites, actually. Something about that record that's different from the rest. Okay, until recently, I just innocently thought it was about going on a train to Marrakesh. That was it.
Who did that song, Marrakesh Express? Is that Simon and Garfunkel?
Crosby, Stills.
Oh, is it?
Crosby, Stills and Nash. Yeah.
Spilsby, Cross and Nash. Yeah, them.
Yeah, them. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that the little Starmer thing with the cocaine thing, I mean, of course, it probably wasn't, although it probably was. But there was a little outtake from him. I don't know if you caught this. It's only about 30 seconds. I caught him commenting on it the other day.
I would like to address the rumours of a certain meeting where a bag of cocaine was found before Emmanuel Macron, the Prime Minister of France, hid it in his pocket. Yes, we all did cocaine that day. And yes, we had a naked dance-off afterwards. This is how we do it in Europe. We like to sniff a little bit of cocaine and then we just get naked and dance and rub up against each other and shit like that. It's fun and we're all gay, so it's perfectly fine. Anyway, thank you. And have a nice day.
So have a nice day, Eric. So at least it's nice. It's nice to hear him being refreshingly honest for once, isn't it?
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
And shall we? I hope they put me in a cell next to you so we can have a good laugh. You know.
Yeah. Well, why not? Absolutely. But it was. Do you think that was staged? I'm assuming everybody's seen it, which of course is a silly assumption. But you know, these things fly around, don't they, really quickly? So supposedly the cameras came on them having a meeting. There was a little bag of white powder and a spoon, and Macron quickly sort of tucked it away. The whole thing, of course, to me, I'm immediately going, well, this is staged. They want to send out a signal. But maybe they are so stupid and are so whacked out that they really don't know what's going on. Would we be surprised if that turned out to be true? Not that we would ever find out, but would you be surprised, Eric, if that turned out to be true?
I would not be at all surprised. Do you remember when I think it was when Gordon Brown was an election thing, and he got in a car. Now, the thing is, there's cameras all around, there's microphones, and he starts ragging this bloke off who he's just seen. And it's all recorded on camera, and he had to go along and apologise to him in the end. What a silly thing to do. Surely, you know, there's press all around. Someone is going to pick that up on a microphone, and they did.
Is that the one where he got into the back of the limousine? Is that what you're talking about?
That's
Gordon
it. That's the one, yeah.
He was bad-mouthing a woman, wasn't he? We ought to get that clip out.
It.
He was really bad-mouthing her. I think it's...
woman.
Yeah. I thought that was tremendous. I mean, they probably didn't. But what it did, it gave you an insight into the way that they view everybody as scum. I mean, it's as simple as that. They just view everybody that's not in their circle, poncing about taking cocaine, as scum. And somebody kindly sent me a photograph today. I mean, I can't... Maybe if I get sorted out with a video feed here, I can start flashing these photos up. So I need to do a bit of practice, everybody. You have to forgive me. I can't be doing all these things at once. You know, I had to put my trousers on before the show as well, and that's hard enough. But it was a photograph of, who's that chump in charge of the Ukraine? Sliminski, him.
Oh, Sliminski, yeah.
Yeah, him. And he's in a meeting, or it's just a photograph, with Starmer. The problem is... and this is really rather impressive, actually. Literally, I'm looking at the photograph now because this means nothing to you, but then we're all on radio land, so you're just going to have to let me describe it. They're talking to one of them in a car park or somewhere, and no word of a lie, Zelensky's trousers are on backwards. I'm serious.
Yes.
Have you seen this? Have you seen the picture?
I've seen that picture, yes. And as the fly, and he's got his flies open. So
the flies are open.
No,
I mean, it's just absolutely bizarre.
Yes.
Somebody sent me this from Martin. The economics guy, Martin Armstrong, And the little comment he's put underneath the picture is, here is Zelensky with his pants on backwards. You have to have been high on cocaine to do that. Never in my entire life have I ever put my pants on backwards. Trousers, please. There is no way you don't notice that unless you are way out there, out of your bunk. How Starmer doesn't tell him calls into question Starmer as well. Well, I never. He's casting aspersions on our mighty leader. Yeah, so it's quite a picture.
Perhaps he's trying to tell people something, you know. But I better not go any further because I might get arrested. But shall we say a bit like that, you know, in prison in America, they have their walk around with their trousers or pants down. It means they're open for business. Perhaps that's another sort of, you know. You never know.
Oh God, and then you just see all these people from our own race there. I thought we'd get the good old heavy four-letter word in early on. Doing the same thing, not having absolutely clueless. This sort of mimicry of guff fashion statements is remarkable to me. Although I suppose it's rich. I just wore denims, of course, in the 70s because that's all you did. You didn't have to do too much in the 70s. All you had to do was wear flared jeans. Did you have flared jeans? They used to get caught in my bicycle chainwheel. Bloody useless they were. But I had to have them.
With turn-ups.
Yeah,
with turn-ups.
There was that. And then I had a lot of hair. I mean, I've still got some left, but I just had loads. And my sons actually came across some photographs of me the other day. They said, is this you? I was like 19 at the time. I said, yeah. It's just, and I went, oh yeah, what a load of hair. It's just tons of it. It's all over the place.
That's it.
And I grew a beard then. I still sort of have one now, basically because I'm lazy and I don't want to get shaved all the time. Because if I get a webcam, I'm going to have to get shaved because we've got to spend 2 hours in makeup, Eric, before the cameras roll. We've got to look. I always do. We have to. I know you do. I mean, but you know, I'm not. I've got to get trained in that way and sort of, you know, sort my wardrobe out and all that kind of stuff. But my dad used to say to me with the beard, he said, "What have you got that for?" I said, "Well, I don't know." And he said, "You look like a rat peeping out from behind a bale of straw." It never left me that. I really quite like that. So if you come across some young person with a beard, just say that to them. It's really good. Just insult them a bit, you know. It's our job to do that and to keep them on their toes, you know, and to just be slightly rude to the younger lots.
I had hair down to my shoulders and a droopy moustache, but with a bald patch in it. And,
all right, okay, this is good.
They kept calling me Charles Bronson. Hi, Charles Bronson. I got so pissed off, fed up with it, that I just shaved it off in the end. But no, my hair was down to my shoulders. I quite liked it, long hair, until it fell out.
Wow, a hippie. Hippie Eric is quite a thing.
Yeah, I was a real hippie, yeah.
So you didn't look like you didn't look like Peter Wingard then.
Unfortunately, a little bit.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Well, I told you. Did I ever tell you about what happened when you see, my neighbour gave me a racing bike, and I probably told you this before. And I've always, because when I was a kid, my parents never allowed me to have a bike because they said it's too dangerous. You see, adult time. And this was about 5 or 6 years ago. My neighbour gave me his racing bike. Yeah. I already had a bike before then, you see. And I thought, wow, racing bike. So I decided, you know, put the old shades on. Hi, you know. Got on the bike, went round the corner. Hi, ladies. You know, I'm on my racing bike. And I went around the corner and said, hello. And I said, hello, and fell off of it. Because, you see, I'm used to a bike with about 2-inch thick tyres. Well, a racing bike is about 1/2 inch wide.
Yeah, it's a needle, really, in comparison. It's a bit thin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Precisely.
It is.
So that went down. That me trying to be a bit flash. That went hit me right in the face.
Well,
life, you know.
Oh gosh, yeah, bike accidents, they're fun. I think push bikes are pretty dangerous. I mean, I've got more banged up on a push bike than anything. I would never get a motorbike because I assume I would have killed myself. Not even if it would have even been down to me. It's not that I was a maniac or anything. I just thought, nah, I don't think I'll do that. I couldn't afford one anyway, really. I just ended up buying a car. But I had a good friend. Well, he was good at the time. He was in good nick. Maybe had a little bit too much to drink, and got on his bike to go home and was travelling very slowly. I mean, you know, not much faster than walking speed. and he hit one of those little speed bumps, and he fell off, and the amount of damage he did to himself was unreal. He fell from that height, and his head hit the tarmac. He broke his jaw, knocked his teeth out, fractured his nose, got a fractured eye socket. I went, wow, that's it. So the motto of the story: don't drink and ride a bicycle. Driving's fine. You got four wheels. You can't fall over on that, And if you are a bit drunk and behind the wheel, go like the clappers. That way, you get off the road quick, and you spend less time on the road being a menace to everybody else. That would always be my theory. I don't know whether it pan out in a court of law. They might take umbrage with that. Yes,
they might do. But I actually came off my bike and I knocked myself out for about half an hour.
Did you?
Literally. And
yeah,
I was out cold, and some kids found me. And
look, we found a man.
Look, there's a man knocked out.
There's a man. Look what we found. We found a bloke.
But strangely enough, when I come round, you're at peace with yourself. You feel really calm. And I thought, what am I doing down here? And I don't know what happened. I must have fainted or something. I just don't know. It was a cold morning.
Yeah.
And these kids found me. They was going to call an ambulance. I said, no, don't worry, I'm okay. Got home, and about half an hour later, the shock hit me. Bang! But no, I'd scars all over my face. So I must have been unconscious before I hit the tarmac. But this was on a footpath.
Right.
Where you can cycle your bike. So a cycle path. So there wasn't that many people around. So I must have been there for quite a time. So I must have knocked myself out cold. But I noticed my handlebars were all cocky-doodle, and I must have hit myself on the handlebars. But again, because, I wasn't wearing a cycle helmet. So as I say, I must have been unconscious when I hit the floor. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. But,
wow.
I'm still here.
Yeah, you are. No, that's pretty good. There's some... Anyway, shout out to everybody as well. I don't know if you've seen any of the messages in Rumble, Eric. There's quite a few piling in. Great to have you all here. And technically, we seem to be solid today, so this is good. We've had a few rough weeks around here with the whole thing, so this is good. But there's an interesting message here from Woody Peak. Is it correct, Woody Peak, and you'll have to type something in to let me know, yay or nay, that you and Mrs. Peak are having an early celebration of your upcoming silver wedding anniversary. Is that correct? And by the way, what is silver? Is that 20 years?
25.
Eric? Is it 25 for silver?
I think it is, yes.
25. Not 40. Yes. 40, 45 years or 20, 25. I can't remember what it is. Silver. So, right. So this silver, there's loads of them. There's one for every year, isn't it? Paper after a year. I quite like paper. That was quite good. But I didn't know that I got into all that kind of stuff.
One.
But is it? Yeah, cheap one. 1 year in, it's only paper. And then it goes up tin or something. And you get all sorts of sort of tut. And then it gets onto the cool stuff. Well, if silver's 25, congratulations, Mr. Peak, and to Mrs. Peak. Well done. So I don't know what you mean by an early celebration. I don't know what that means, frankly. I'm just assuming there's lashings of wine. There might be lashings of wine. So, and why not? Why not indeed? Yes. Do you want to talk about anything serious, Eric? Let's talk about race, shall we? Shall we talk about immigration? Shall we have a little chat about Mr. Starmer's speech? Now, I did send it to you. I know you tried to read it, but hopefully you weren't too ill. You weren't too ill when you saw it.
My sick bag is... Well, it wasn't big enough. I need a sick bucket, actually. I think the bag just filled up too quickly.
Yeah. I mean, the guy just basically...
It's a picture of him.
Yeah, I know. It's a brilliant picture. What a striking, handsome suit that is. There's something inside it, but the suit looks great. So he gave this speech on Monday. It's just complete nonsense and madness. Everybody's just falling about laughing because he didn't really mean a word of it. Somebody's obviously put him up to it. I will read the first 2 paragraphs. I think that's about as much as we need. It's only to set the tone. We're not going through the whole thing. It was 20 minutes of, it's just, he says, good morning. Today we no, I can't do that. I'm going to have to practice getting a Keir Starmer accent.
Today we publish a white paper on immigration. All of my knickers.
Sorry.
I'll read it out as if I'm actually a grown-up as opposed to this little... It says, today we publish a white paper on immigration, a strategy that is absolutely central to my plan for change. Oh, it's nothing to do with us, but it's central to his. And why is it always plans for change? Why can't be a plan for return to what works? as opposed to changing things all the time. Isn't this sort of this Obama nonsense? We're going to change things. It's all about progress and change. There isn't any. You look back and you go, I don't know what you're talking about. You should not be allowed to use these words. They all have to change something because, that's their holy mission. If I change this thing, it's all going to get better. He goes on, he says, this strategy will finally, relief everyone, take back control of our borders, yippee, and close the book on a squalid chapter of our politics, our economy, and our country. You oaf. He goes on, let's just do the second paragraph. It's just remarkably stupid. He goes, take back control. Everyone knows that slogan, well, I do, and what it meant for immigration, or at least that's what people thought. Because what followed from the previous government, starting with the people who used that slogan, was the complete opposite. Between 2019 and 2023, even as they were going around our country telling people with a straight face they would get immigration down, net migration quadrupled until in 2023 it reached nearly 1 million. Which is about the population of Birmingham, our second largest city. That's not control, it's chaos, and it goes on in a similar vein. And in fact, I'll stick the link in the Rumble chat for all those of you who just can't get enough of his purple prose and his sincerity in writing. There you go. I've just whacked it into Rumble. Absolute, complete blithering. You see, I get going with the adjectives, Eric, and I'm already running out of them.
Yeah. It's the Frank Spencer, isn't he? He's some others do have him. He's Frank Spencer, Starmer. Oh, Betty, we've had a bit of trouble with immigration.
Yeah. I've got problems with the immigration. Yes, he is.
Oh, my trouble. But you're not about change. Is he talking about his menopause or something? I wonder whether they're on about menopause.
Yeah, but I don't think he's a man, isn't he? He's not a man. He's a man on pause, trying to become a man. I don't know about a menopause. I mean, he's not really a man, is he? What is he?
No.
Well,
he's something, but that picture of him. I mean, it just sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel a little bit uncomfortable standing here. Oh dear, I just thought, excuse me, is flatulence supposed to be lumpy? Oh dear.
That's the sort of expression he's got on his face, isn't it? But he just looks it, doesn't he? A complete dork.
It is. He looks as though he's having problems with his hemorrhoids, doesn't he? And let's face it, if he isn't, he's the sort of man that we wish was having trouble with his hemorrhoids. Seriously. And speaking of which,
his hemorrhoids,
yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. There was a comment in the chat saying that Starmer was in Albania today, talking about smashing the gangs. He's personally gone out there in that suit to start smashing the gangs. I mean, it's just.
Dear.
We can't do this forever. Actually, we probably could. Yeah, smashing the gangs.
Did he wet himself? I've wet myself again. It's frightening. I do the best one when you see him with all these tough army blokes dressed up as a squatty. I think that's a classic.
Oh dear, these guns, they're dangerous. They could hurt someone. Have we got health and safety here? We should have it in the army.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, Exo mentions here as well. He was the one. Thanks, Exo, for the shout out about Albania. We can't keep up with the globe-trotting exploits of this wizard of peace, Mr. Starmer. Exo goes on to say, not mentioning the 230,000 fake Albanian migrants we have in England right now. These numbers they've always been alarming because they're based on an idea that's completely and utterly not required. I think it's to do, I've heard I heard a criticism of Starmer, I don't know what it was, some bint from Cloud Cymru or whatever it is, that Welsh thing. I only call her a bint because the comments were they were half good and half stupid. She accused him, she said, are we supposed to take this seriously? It's as if the Prime Minister's, I'm paraphrasing, right? As if the Prime Minister's speeches have been formed by whatever he heard in the last focus group that he attended. And it does have that impact of a guy completely as a puppet on a string, really. I mean, it does come across. He made a very sort of rude remark to her he said, well, something along the rubbish that comes out of the right honourable lady's mouth or something, which was just beyond the pale. He's tactless. He can't even insult people without coming across as an oaf, which he is. And, well, he is. I mean, he's just ridiculous. But this is what happens when you've decided that to allow yourself to become a puppet of these things. I mean, the whole idea, this communication space around this is complete madness, because that woman who pointed that very salient point out also couched her whole pitch along the lines of the Prime Minister has basically been very sympathetic to other people, but now he's talking about putting borders around and this, that and the other, and that we're a nation divided. All of that language that she used was all incorrect. People just can't use language properly, or they're using it intentionally stupidly to maintain this confusion. And although there are some good things on the radio and the TV, I mean, I'm sort of pedantic. I'm becoming pedantic, Paul, as I get older. If you're using the wrong words in the wrong order, no one's going to have a clue what to do to sort anything out. There's an assumption, don't you think, Eric, that basically we've just got to sort out this migration mess. That's the frame, the way it's framed. The context is, well, there's migration, you see, and we've just got to get in control of it. But the actual question is, why is there any at all? Why has there ever been any at all? Any?
The question, I mean, at election times, you never see MPs now. You don't never see candidates come around the door at all.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen a candidate come around the door for ages.
Yep.
But the question I have for them is, two questions. One, do you believe in democracy? And they go, oh, yes. Can you give me the precise date or possibly the decade when we got the vote to allow mass immigration, please? And they run off. Because if it's a democracy, sorry, we should have voted for it, but we never did. Never got the chance.
Well, it's never even been put out there, has it, as a topic worthy of our view.
That's right.
Apparently, we any view that you and I would have, yeah.
Heath took us in 1973, but there was no vote on it.
No,
none at all.
No. So like when the media are doing these things, this sort of drama outrage stuff. Right, you hear it from everybody. Well, this is terrible and all that kind of stuff. And he's complete. I mean, we're echoing part of it here. I'm aware of this. I've got sort of one eye on myself as I'm sort of ending up like we end up talking like a news channel. But you've got to really watch it, because you're just buying into the general agreement, which is, if we just all shout a bit louder, or I make some points, or I hit the lectern harder than the other guy, somehow I will have won the argument. But the bottom line is nothing changes, because no one's addressing the context, which is bogus. It's a totally bogus concept of allowing anybody into your nation, whatever nation it is, allowing people into your nation who are of a different race, of a different culture, many of a different religion, which is absolutely fine. There's no one can help that. It's not as if you shouldn't have been born that way. This is life. This is the way it's always been, and it always will be. But as I've mentioned repeatedly, and obviously I feel the need to keep saying this thing to try and find some way to get the point across more fully, is it's completely surplus to requirements. Nature didn't design it that way in the first place, or am I wrong about that? I mean, in other words, were you born, Eric, into a place that just had all these different people in it with all this sort of polyglot culture and everything's just great? I don't know anybody that was born into a space like that, ever.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. But the thing is that they've got this incredible propaganda where if you go against what they say, you're a hateful person. You have hate speech.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've found the complete opposite is reverse speech, because the people that are accused of hate speech are generally the kindest people, because I respect people's culture. And I respect people from overseas and other places. That's what makes the world go round. And as I've often said, if you went to South Africa to see the Zulus, you expect to see their tribal dancing and all that. Marvellous. You wouldn't go there and expect to see a Scottish Highland jig because it's multicultural, would you?
No.
You say, well, just go up the road to Scotland to see that. And it's disrespect for people's culture. And that's what it is. And there's also to say that our culture is not much, and we should actually embrace other people's culture, is urinating on the graves of our ancestors, especially the ones that fought in both world wars. that is the greatest insult they can give us. That's the way I look on it.
Well, it is. But, I mean, they insulted that generation anyway by pitching them into wars that were completely unnecessary. And now we, as their children and grandchildren, are being insulted again. And our children and grandchildren will also be insulted. This attitude, as it were, the Gordon Brown in the cab attitude, is permanent with these people. It's just permanent. And the thing about race is, it's just an extension of your family. So what they say, if you say that you're a racist, and it all depends how people want to define, I know what it means. I know the connotation of it. And I've heard it about 4 or 5 times on the radio even this week. Well, this is like being a racist and everything. No one even stops and goes, what does that mean? Never. What's the point of having these conversations when people are using words all mangled up? Well, the reason they use them all mangled up is that they don't want to be seen to be stupid, I suppose, in the moment. I don't know what that means, but someone should say, what does that mean? Please explain it to me. Give me your definition of what it is. So, if a nationalist is someone that loves their nation, is it not the case that a racist is someone that loves their race? I'm going to suggest that it is. I know it's not used in that way, right? So, Eric, you were in a family once, yeah? Mm-hmm. You probably still are.
Yes.
And did you love your family?
Yes.
And
Yes,
did your
I did.
parents
Very
love
close
the family that they'd built with you in it? Did they love it? Right. And
Yes,
hopefully
yes,
that's
they did.
true of the vast majority of people in families. Now, just because you love your family, does that mean you hate all the other families in the street?
Spot on. No.
Are you a
that-
familyist? Are you a familyist? Oh,
Yes.
you're a familyist,
That's
are
a
you?
good one.
Yeah?
Oh, familyist, yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I am. Yeah. You mean that you love your own family more than other people? Yeah, I do. Should I not do that?
Well, that's
It's
communism, isn't it? Because you love
Yep.
the state before your own family.
Of course.
And in communist China, some provinces, you were not allowed to marry unless the special bureau, or what it was, they would choose a partner for you because love didn't come into it. So, you reached a certain age and there was a lady that they selected for you. And that was
Yep.
it. You married her whether you liked it or not.
Too bloody right.
that
No, I
was-
didn't mean that. I didn't mean
Yeah, and that's what they did in communist China.
Yeah.
Because you were there to reproduce for the next lot, and the state took the child away and indoctrinated it, and that was it. That was your function.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm taking some of this on the family stuff from some notes written by Eli, who may be joining us. I haven't seen him, and he may not. You don't know because he's got some challenges. So if he turns up, that would be great. But so somebody in the family, traditionally, of course, the father provides for it. Yeah. Provides for the family.
Yes.
It used to be like that. I know it's kind of all falling apart rapidly because of all these pressures that they brought to bear. But let's just stick to that older story that it used to be like that. He doesn't go around and provide for all the other families, does he? Your dad didn't.
Precisely.
My dad didn't.
No.
So what is he? Does he hate them then? Why is he not providing for all those other ones as well? Now, this is what they do with
Spot
race. If you just translate, just hop it over and expand it out, they're saying, well, you don't look after all these other people, you're a racist. Well, of course not. Is it my job to do that? The implication is that it is the assumption in all these communications, like the hidden agreement that they're all saying is, it's Whitey's job to sort out everybody. Everybody can come and live where he lives and she lives, and they can get all this stuff for nothing. And you must keep doing this because what is it? Is it called white guilt over what? I don't feel guilty about a thing. But our political class have obviously been bent over a barrel with this. Or whatever they've been bent over, don't you think?
Well, you're spot on, because when you look at it, when you look at the atrocities, all right, there were atrocities that went on. There wasn't very nice things. It was all done by the higher ups. The average person on the ground had nothing to do with it. It was the ruling class, the hidden hand, the people you don't see.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. And this guilt thing, it's all similar to, well, it comes from the Frankfurt School.
Yes, it does.
Because after World War II, the Frankfurt School, who relocated, obviously, from Frankfurt to America, they were communists, but they were welcomed with open arms to America. They advised America on what they called the inverted commas, the denazification of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And they claimed that the German people as a whole have got to feel guilty They got to feel extreme guilt.
Yeah.
And they hyped it up and hyped it up and hyped it up, so that now we've got a German race of people that hate Germany, and that's what they did. And
So,
this is
I
what
mean,
they're
when you
trying to
think
do.
about it,
Yeah,
any
they're
nation,
trying to get you to, They're
you're
trying to
right.
get us to hate our own environment.
It's very
That's it.
much, it's those aspects of that period of history more than the military side that I find much more engaging, because those issues are long standings. They go back thousands of years, and it's the one that's been dealt to us right now. It's the way that we're being manipulated right now. So if you look at Germany in that period, one of the things, the impression I certainly get from a distance, someone no doubt could say, no, Paul, you've got it all wrong. But certainly the impression I get is that families were very, very important in the constitution of the nation, because they are. It's not a debatable thing. It's literally nature says this is the structure, and people love their families. So what they're saying is, you can't love your family. And it taps into what you just said a few moments ago, that's one of the drives of communism, is to destroy the family, so that you get these, what they call atomless, rudderless people, easily controllable by the state, this agglomeration of bureaucrats and technocrats who are basically after, maintaining their position of wealth and power and influence, because that's the game that they like to play, and they don't really care how many pawns get blown up or whatever. It's not of any real consequence to them. So all these threads come to bear. No one, do you think we're ever likely to hear any of our politicians in the House of Commons have a discussion about something like this? It's not, I'm being facetious when I say it, really. It's not going to happen, is it?
It's like they get talking about usury. You won't find them talking about usury because they know they'll end up in a wooden overcoat.
Mm-hmm.
This is why it's just a huge control mechanism. They only survive through ignorance, and they have the best PR consultants and the best social engineers our money can buy. That's how they survive. Otherwise, they wouldn't last 5 minutes.
I know. It's the average man getting involved in the discussion about race that I'm particularly keen on. But it's a bit of a challenge, isn't it? Because and this is why I listen to some of these mainstream radio things. I mentioned it before with the call-ins from people to find out where their phraseology is, which is a great indication of where they're allowing themselves to take their own thinking, which is generally not that far. Because, the sort of hidden ring fencing that's laid in by the media is not detected by the audience. You just go, you couldn't possibly talk about that. Hang on, why? Why can't we talk about that? Who says you can't talk about it? Well, the government. You're inciting racial hatred. This is just, it's a madness.
Well, look up the Keldenhove-Kalergi plan. Now, the Keldenhove-Kalergi plan, this chap Keldenhove-Kalergi, he was a bit of a mixture. He was part Japanese, and I'm not sure the other half. Was it German?
Austrian, I think.
Sure. Austrian, sorry, yeah. And he wrote a book, which name escapes me because I'm having a senior moment.
Practical Idealism,
30s.
it was called.
That's the one, yes.
Yeah.
And his plan, he was the founder of the EU. He was one of the founding fathers of it. Mm-hmm. He died, I think, in 1972, 73, something like that.
Yeah.
And he wanted to destroy the European race. He said, he did not want.
Yes, he did
Europeans.
actually.
Yes.
He did.
No. Apart from that, he was quite a nice bloke.
It was lovely. He used to give his mother flowers and that. He was like a brother to me. He was great. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but he did want to wipe out the white race. Oh yeah, he did want to do that. Yeah. 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 He was a nice man. He was cruel but kind. Yeah. Keldenhove-Kalergi.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm channeling Monty Python sketches there, but it's difficult for me not to at certain times. But yes. Yeah, he was a
sounds
very,
like a disease,
very bad.
Doesn't it? A rash. I've had a rash. It's called Kogan. Went to the doctor. He told me I've got Keldenhove-Kalergi.
You've got the Kalergi. It's like the lurgy, but it's the
Yes.
Kalergi, and it's worse. Yes, it's worse.
Precisely, yes.
It's very, very bad type of lurgy. It really is. Yeah, I think all of these. I don't know. It's the self-censoring for most normal people that's tricky. Everyone's terrified of being called a racist. Well, they wouldn't be if somebody actually said, hang on, can we just provide the meaning of this word? Of course, we know that it's been invoked specifically to only be targeted at one race of people, white people. That's why no other race considers themselves, because of the way it's framed in the mainstream media worldwide, as if they could possibly be a racist. A racist is simply a white person who wants to be left alone. Actually, this is not allowed.
Same with
it's not allowed. You can't do that.
Well, that's right. It's just similar with that. But have you noticed there's a huge psyop going on at the moment?
Mm-hmm.
They want to silence people. So what they're doing now, they are the police are going in and taking old age pensioners for questioning and arresting them because they said something naughty on social media. Yes, that's happening. But I think a lot of it's being hyped up. Why? Because it's terrifying loads of other people thinking, I better not say anything, I might get arrested. And I wonder whether that's gone through your mind at all, because a lot of them, you'd think, looks a bit acted to me. A lot of them are genuine, yes, but a lot of them look a bit acted.
Well, I think that's the stuff, that kind of group thought stuff is the bit that's really scary. I actually think it's going on with those in the political class right now. I think they're getting terrified of the fact that people have woken up to their incompetence. Let's just call it that. It may be willful incompetence in many cases. I don't really know. It may be even more scary that they just literally are so plain stupid or so plain self-centered, which seems highly likely, that they are actually indifferent to the outcomes of the sorts of supposed lines of thinking and policies that they suggest. They just can't do it. Like, what's that thing? Pathological altruism. Bit of a mouthful, but it simply means you decide to be altruistic to other people to such a degree you are going to kill yourself in the process of doing it. This is apparently taps into some sort of ennobling thing. Apparently this is a good thing. You've been given a life. There's kind of a hidden command here. Oh no, we must be seen. I must be seen to be the most helpful person in this group. And anybody that's stopping me being helpful, they're evil. This is how it goes. I mean, it just gets so totally out. People can't get things into proportion. Like when I heard this woman talk, it's as if, and I think it's the assumption, I seem to note it more in lady MPs than I do in male ones, but maybe I'm mistaken. I've got a very small data bank to work on. But that's the impression I get, but maybe that's the sort of impression a person like me would want to get. But they're always extending the hand of help to everybody as if it's infinite and limitless. And when you bring up the fact that veterans are sleeping in doorways, that girls are getting raped by Pakistani and Muslim rape gangs, almost primarily, when the number of crimes committed by so-called migrants is of a much higher degree statistically than that committed by, normal English types, apparently you're persona non grata. You can't raise that up. I mean, EXO wrote here a little earlier on, thanks for this, British police stats for English crimes per 100,000. For British people, 12. Same stats for Albanians, 125 crimes per 100,000. Over 10 times the amount. Now, why are people apologising for this? It's really a structural stupidity. Why would people who are alien to our culture and see us acting like saps not take the view that they can take advantage of everything and treat people in a terrible way because that's the way that they've been brought up? The main problem is locationism. It's not about us having a view or a judgment of these other people, but the view and judgment that we can have, as I said before, is there's no such thing as multiculturalism. Doesn't exist. In fact, I saw a thing supposedly on the BBC. I don't know if you caught it the other day. I don't watch the BBC. It was a clip somewhere on Twitter that someone had put up, a clip from them, saying that they'd asked, I don't know, some people, I've no idea how big the polling numbers were, but they'd gone out maybe to several hundred or several thousand people, I don't know how many, and they'd asked them, do you think multiculturalism is working? And 97% said no. And that was that. So that's the BBC saying, see, we did address it, but they don't reinforce it. This is so major. It's so important. What's the point of all these economic policies if everybody's miserable because they're being compelled to live their lives out with other people that are not right or wrong or good or bad? They're just on a different wavelength. What is the point of it? Well, we know what the point of it is. It's to demoralize us and to bring the remnants of Western Christendom to the ground. And part of the response has to be that the media have got to get tougher in terms of holding these people's feet to the fire. And so do we. We've got to get our local MPs and start to make their lives as unpleasant as they are quite happy to make ours. This is basically what they're doing all the time. They're just creating, intentionally or stupidly, they're just creating so much misery. It's all unnecessary. We can't fix anything if you've got, I don't know, 700 people arrived by boat today or something. 700. I mean, it's just... And they go, what do we do to turn them around? And I'm going, let's see. In the 1960s, when I was a lad, in the 1970s, when I was a teenager, there was no talk about this because someone would be out in a boat and they'd blow them out of the water or they'd just get lost. So it's to do with some underhand coke deal that they've got with the French because that's where they come from. And if we trace the line back, it's not as if there's any one particular nation responsible for causing it. This is kind of a group undermining, this interdependence lark that they're always on about. Well, you've got to do this because we did that and all that kind of stuff. And in the end, you're not in control of your own borders. So for him to say, we're going to get in control of them, how are you going to do that, Keir, when you've signed all these agreements with these other people and they're going to chop what's left of your testicles off, if you go against it? He hasn't got any power. He hasn't got any. He's just pretending that he does, and everybody pretends that he does as well. And it's kind of like a group madness, surely.
Well, the Prime Minister is the Governor of the Bank of England. That's what the fact of the matter is. The Governor, Starmer can't do anything unless he phones up the Governor of the Bank of England.
This is true.
And that's what that ex-Prime Minister said, wasn't it? What was her name?
Betty.
Betty. Oh, hello, Betty.
Oh, yeah. Look, because you've forgotten her name, I have. It would have just... I'm looking at... She's blonde, isn't she? Oh, yeah. Well, come. Someone in chat, put us out of our misery. We're turning into an old couple of farts here. It's ridiculous. What's her name?
I've got
come
a
on.
terrible memory for names. I really have. But when you look at the things like drugs... Now, I was talking to somebody today about drugs. Some of the worst, you look at these drug cartels, and the person I was talking to was saying, yes, do you realise the government runs them? Because when you look at...
Liz Truss. Just to put me out of the memory. I had to put myself... Sorry for interrupting you. I was going crazy there. Yeah. That's okay. Please, carry on.
But my attitude is government is mafia. Nothing more than that. They're stealing money from us.
Yeah.
And when you look at things like drug racketeering, I'm sure the government are behind these people coming in on their boats. They're making money out of it. Mm-hmm. They are just absolutely corrupt. And I think it was Henry Ford that said about banking, if people knew the truth about the banking industry, there'd be a revolution before tomorrow morning. He was spot on, 100% true.
Well, there might be, Eric. I know I come across the most negative... I hate even talking like this. But things that are going on right now are more input than should be required to get people to kick off. Seriously. And I'm including myself here. No, none of us can make... They've got us stitched down in a certain way. There's the implication of things, and their degree of psychological control is considerable. It works in very subtle ways. Just trying to get people to say the word racist is difficult. They want to say it.
It is,
you can't say that.
Financially enslaved us.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. They've financially enslaved us. People are frightened of losing their jobs.
Yes.
Because they won't be able to pay a mortgage.
Yeah.
They're very clever. And as I often said, slavery was never abolished. It's just been redefined. That's all. We're still slaves to chasing Danny Dollar. And that's basically it. People are too frightened. When people had nothing, yes, they would revolt because they've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But now we've got a population that's obese, sits in front of the television, shoves stuff in their face with carbohydrates all evening.
Ooh, yum yum.
That's why I don't think... Oh, yeah, nice bit of carbohydrates.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about chocolate before the show, and I've just realised that my cupboards are bare when it comes to chocolate. I'm feeling a little bit less than, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, you're right. That we'll come to that theme afterwards. We're at the top of the hour here. You're listening to Paul English Live here on WBN 324, going out on multiple other channels, and main chat channel is over in Rumble. We're also still existing and trickling along nicely on YouTube. We'll just keep trying things as we go. I haven't played this one for a little while. It's Van Morrison, and I can play Van Morrison because it never gets sort of black flagged by any of the copyright things. He's said about his music, you can just use it, which is top guy, right? I mean, he's kind of long in the tooth and is probably doesn't need to worry about royalties too much, although I should imagine his publishers, although maybe he owns his own stuff. That's probably what it is. He probably owns it, doesn't he? This is lyrically on track with what we're talking about. I just did a quick check when I last played it, and it's a long time ago. I think it was 2023, actually. This is Western Man, and it's all about us, you saddos. Actually, you're not, you mighty warriors. But it's a good description of what's taking place. We'll be back after this.
Western man has no plan since he became complacent. Stop believing in himself, let others steal his rewards. While he was dreaming, others were scheming, doing deals behind his back. Now Western man is adrift and under attack. What happened in between? Now there's no other bite of the cherry, unless he's prepared to fight. Start on a new path to freedom, new path to freedom. The horse has bolted from the stables, the lunatics have taken over the farm. Caretakers have taken over the main house, clandestine meetings in the forest. Going back to the way it was, now it just seems to be impossible. Western man has no plan. He stole it while he was dreaming. Cherry, unless he's prepared to fight. Start on you path to freedom. Horses bolted from the stables, the lunatics have taken over the farm. Caretakers have taken over the main building. The governors have gone over the wall. Clandestine meetings in the forest. Not going back to the way it was. Western man has no plan since he became complacent. Stop believing in himself and let others steal his rewards while he was dreaming. 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 Others were scheming. Scheming while he was dreaming. Others were scheming while he was dreaming. Others were scheming while he was dreaming.
Attention all listeners. Are you seeking uninterrupted access to WBN 324 Talk Radio despite incoming censorship hurdles? Well, it's a breeze. Just grab and download Opera Browser, then type in WBN324.zil and stay tuned for unfiltered discussions around the clock. That's WBN324.zil.
The views, opinions, and content of the show hosts and their guests appearing on the World Broadcasting Network are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of its owners, partners and other hosts or this network. Thank you for listening to WBN 324 Talk Radio.
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening to WBN 324 Talk Radio and on Rumble and wherever you may be picking up the show. This is Paul English Live. We're here every Thursday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the UK, maybe a bit longer. 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., maybe a bit longer, New York, US Eastern Time. I'm here with Eric. We're slightly different structure to the show today, intentionally so. We've given Patrick and Paul the night off, or the afternoon off for them, because I'm playing around with formats and looking at expanding the number of shows and sort of re-trimming things. So it might be a bit sort of mayhemical. I don't know if that is a word, but I just made it up, over the next few weeks as I look to sort of restructure things and what we do here with all this kind of stuff. Anyway, jolly good lyrics in that song, I thought, Eric. I don't know if you caught them, but I thought they were pretty good.
Yes.
It speaks to our situation very well, I thought. Yeah.
Yes.
And just looking in here, there was a comment from Billy.
He's good. I didn't realise that about the copyright, though.
Yeah, well, actually, what's happening, regular listeners will know that I play tunes here, and they're carried fine over WBN 324 on the radio networks. It's not really a problem with them. But because the show's recorded, it gets automatically distributed to multiple podcast platforms, which I quite like. I don't know whether it's actually pulling anything in, but one does one's best, Eric, doesn't one? So we send them out. One does one's best in the face of all this technical buffoonery and complexion, and a complexity, I should say. And Spotify, which is quite a big platform, handles podcasts, which is great. And the site for this show on Spotify looks pretty spiffing, I have to say. I threw some graphics in and it just dresses it all up, and you get it all looking quite slick for a while. But unfortunately, they're a little bit keen on the old copyright stuff. So when the files go through, they write back and say, you're in breach of this and we're going to pull your show. So I've just pulled loads of them because they had these songs in. It'll be interesting to know whether they pull this one. I'm not planning to put anything else that's a little bit edgy, although we could put the Marrakesh Car Wash song or whatever it was called. We could put that in, That would probably blow a gasket and get the show kicked off. I understand. I'm not moaning about it.
Marrakesh Express.
Yeah, whatever. That thing. So I don't mind. I understand that they've got to do it. It's just such a pernickety world, though. You just think, in this music just as much hours now as the musicians. They've been around for 40 years. We're only playing it once to a small audience. No. It's just
what
so
about
pernickety.
1940s? Because I think...
You still there? You've gone all...
I know.
Oh, you disappeared for a bit. You're back. You've disappeared. Can you hear me, Eric? You've faded. You've disappeared on the mic somehow. Please say something. Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm speaking.
Yeah, we can hear you now. You've faded out.
Connecting. This is often caused by an unstable internet connection. If you're on Wi-Fi, try plugging in to your router or moving closer. This should also be a browser issue. This could be also a browser. Try using Chrome if this continues, or blowing a raspberry at Bill Gates. So
you're back. You just had an internet moment. Yes. You just had a connectivity moment. That's all it is. Happened. Yeah, it's okay.
Yes.
Well, we can hear your beautiful dulcet tones once more. So this is good.
Do you think I need counselling for it?
Yes, I think so. I think they should be, because it's quite emotionally distressing, isn't it? Probably do some compensation, really. Probably do a bit of money for that, I think.
Fault is out of copyright.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Well,
tell you what, you're going in and out. You're going in and out like a yo-yo.
Still after the...
You're going in and out like a yo-yo. Disconnect from the studio and come in again. We've got overlap here.
So that if a lion walked in this room now, I'll trap myself for fear of lions.
Eric, you've turned into a Dalek. You've turned into a Dalek. Can you hear me? So if you can hear me, just disconnect from the studio, refresh the page, and come in afresh. Come in new.
I'll reboot. Right back. See
you don't need to reboot the whole system. You just need... Oh, well, he does then. He's going off to reboot things. What a pity. Anyway, while Eric goes and puts his technical trousers on in the right way round, let's just have a look at some of these comments here. There was... Hopefully he'll be back in a second or two. Billy Silver wrote a little bit earlier. This was, I think, when we were just talking about the definition of words and things like this. At the suggestion of racism, Billy writes, I like to ask them to define it for me. Yes, me too. Absolutely. This is the way. Just what do you mean by that? Its legs fall off at that point. Those leftards just refuse to engage further, claiming moral high ground. I don't talk to racists. I know. They believe that they're actually got the upper hand, but in fact, what they're doing there, I know you don't need me to spell it out, but they're being violent. That's the violence of the left. It's the violence of anybody that does that. When people refuse to engage, particularly over a contentious issue or something that requires a little bit of deft thought, always a desperate challenge for most people, they will often do that. They'll pull the shutters down. And the reason it's violent is that it's destroying the moment. It actually removes any opportunity, as everybody can see, for you to get to some point of not even agreement, but clarity. At least you might have a shared understanding. Go, well, I fundamentally disagree with your view, but at least we understand what we're both looking at right now. But when someone's using it in one particular way and you don't buy into their definition or vice versa, you can see there's a bit of a problem. It's a major problem, actually. In fact, nearly all ruckuses, kick off fundamentally by a disagreement over the way language is being used, so that people really don't understand one another because they think you're supposed to fit into their context. And what we're trying to do is just find out what their context is. And that is the disappointing thing with all of this, I would suggest, that most people are not able really to sort of engage on this level in any particular way. Eric, are you back with us? Are you Dalek free?
Yes. I hope
sound lovely.
Dalek free. It took a bit of time to get back.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It took ages to come back. I don't know what the hell's going on, but someone in chat said that their internet connection often has a Biden moment. So I think that's quite a nice.
Oh yes,
my internet had a Biden moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. Well, you're okay. You sound great now. Just a quick brief. Sometimes things just get clogged up, don't they? A bit like your nose, and you just need to blow it. So it's
That's
okay.
Right, yes.
Yeah, it's fine. That's great. Good to have you back. Actually, I haven't spoken to you in ages.
Good
Have
to
you
be
been?
back. Yeah,
you all right?
I haven't spoken for a long time, have we? But
No.
I think that my view is we've got to use humour, not as a destructive weapon to put. But the only people we put down is the ruling elite. That's what we use our humour for. And I think that we should change when you have an offensive word being thrown at you, you misinterpret it deliberately and come back at an angle that the person who's being abusive to you doesn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about this earlier today, weren't we? I don't know
We were.
how far we want to go into this. Yes, but I won't go too deeply into it. But just agree with them. You're a racist. Yes. You're a this. Yes. Pleased to meet you.
Yes, I'm a racist, and so is my wife. Everybody in my street, we love it. I thought a book, Racism for Fun and Profit. Or how about a little pamphlet?
Toast?
Yeah, a little pamphlet which is so ... You want to be a racist, and you've got a picture of some nice, happy, smiling, cheery person on the front. Or a family at Butlins. Racists at Butlins. That's great. Yeah, we're all racist.
Yes.
You might as well just take it on board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm a racist. Is that a problem? Well, of course it's a problem. It's awful. Why? Why is it awful? It means you hate other people. No, it doesn't. Doesn't mean that.
I tell you who made a lot of sense was Muhammad Ali. Now, Muhammad Ali, I don't think that his problem that he had was brought on naturally. I think the powers that be did that to him as punishment because he was getting so outspoken.
Yep.
And especially when he was on Michael Parkinson's show, he came out, he had a good sense of humour, but he also, when he was serious, he was really serious. And he came up with some very, very good ideas.
Eric, do you want to be my new lead-in manager? Because it's so amazing that you should mention that, because
I know, isn't it amazing?
I haven't played this in years, and I dug it up. I haven't played this clip in years, and I've got it here, so we're going to play it. So many of you will be familiar with it, but you can't hear this often enough because Muhammad Ali absolutely nails it for his people and therefore gets respect. He don't have to demand it. He just gets it because he's telling the truth. That's how it works in my book, right? You can't, you've got to respect. Well, not if you're talking shit. I can't. Sorry, excuse my French. I probably just got fired for that. But you can't. Anyway, this is an interview. I think it's about 1972, is it? Something like that? 71, 2 or 3. It's when he's at the peak of his powers, Muhammad Ali. He's just come back from Vietnam and just had a few smash-ups with Joe Frazier or something. And him and Parkinson had a series of interviews. This is 3.5 minutes long, and every point that he mentions just nails it on. Here we go.
And another thing, when you say integration, it comes on the intermarriage too, right? All been together.
Right, sure.
And I'm sure no intelligent white person watching this show, or no intelligent white man in his or her right white mind want black boys and black girls marrying their white sons and daughters, and in return introducing their grandchildren as half-brown, kinky-haired black people.
I wouldn't object to that.
Well, you wouldn't, but a lot of them would.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people. No, this is the point.
What I'm trying to say is this. And you don't have it. You say you don't, but you don't have it. You really ain't gonna have it. You on the show, and you got to say that. But
that's not true.
Why would you want to do that?
Because I don't think I'm any different from you. You see.
Yeah, we much different.
I mean, I think society's made us different.
You know we're different. We all together.
Society's made us different.
No, not society. God made us different.
No, we're just human beings. He made all of us.
We all listen. Bluebirds fly with bluebirds. Red birds want to be with red birds. Listen. Tell me when I'm wrong. Pigeons want to be with pigeons. Tell me when I'm wrong. We should have. They don't have intelligence, but yet they stay together. We should have more intelligence than them, right? Buzzards are with buzzards. Buzzards are with buzzards. Bluebirds are with bluebirds. They all are birds, but they got different cultures. The eagles like to hang out in the mountains. The buzzard like to fly around the desert.
Well,
the bluebird like to fly around the trees and the grass.
There'd be certain problems a buzzard mating with a sparrow, wouldn't there?
What?
There'd be certain.
Right. And we have the problems too.
No,
I don't see no black and white couples in England or America walking around proud, holding their children.
That's because society
and going out.
That's society's fault. I mean, we've got to educate people around it.
Well, life is too short for me to be raised catching hell for something like that. I'd rather go and be my own. I have a beautiful daughter, beautiful wife. They look like me. We're all happy, and I don't have no trouble. I ain't no trouble. I ain't that much in love with no woman to go through all that hell. Ain't no one woman that good. You understand?
I understand. Yeah, I do understand. I understand. But I think it's sad that it
ain't sad because I want my child to look like me. Every intelligent person wants his child to look like him. I'm sad because I want to blot out my race and lose my beautiful identity. Chinese love Chinese. They love the little slanted-eyed, pretty brown-skinned babies. Pakistanis love their culture. Jewish people love their culture. A lot of Catholics don't want to marry number Catholics. They want the religion to stay the same. Who want to spot up yourself and kill your race? You a hater of your people if you don't want to stay who you are. You shame what God made you. God didn't make no mistake when he made us all like we were.
I think that's a philosophy of despair.
Despair.
I really do.
It ain't no despair. Number one, can't no woman. Let me tell you something. I want to tell you. Listen, no woman on this whole earth, not even a black woman in Muslim countries, can please me and cook for me and socialize and talk to me like my American black woman. No woman, and last is a white woman, can really identify with me and my feelings and the way I act and the way I talk. See? And you can't take no Chinese man and give him no Puerto Rican woman and holler about we're in love and you emotionally in love and physically, but really they're not happy because she's going to hear some Puerto Rican music, he's going to hear some Chinese music, and they're going to be clashing all the time. It's just nature. You can do what you want, but it's nature to want to be with your own. I want to be with my own. I love my people. That's all. I don't hate nobody.
So, difficult to fault anything he says, right? Don't you think
I have a great amount of respect for him. I really do. Amazing man.
He was.
Sorry, he's going to say, yeah.
Well, it was a natural leader of his people. Whatever you might think about it, it's none of our damn business. It's not our business, right? It's his business. And he was saying, my business is with my people and your business is with yours. Parkinson, of course, was pathetic. The most pathetic Yorkshireman ever. I'm sorry to tell you all that we were born in the same county, but it's really atrocious. I mean, he had his good moments with certain things, but I always found him to be smarmy, slightly sycophantic. Of course, he became the champion of the chat shows. He was a good journalist in many ways, but on this point, he's so out to lunch, but that's because of the liberal indoctrination times that he was a part of. And being in the media, maybe I'm making an excuse for him, I don't mean to, but you can see why he would talk like that. And he wasn't alone. I don't think we're any different. You fool, it's in front of your eyes. It's like saying God made a mistake by making us all different, and the fact that Muhammad Ali addresses God and the creator in this is very important because that takes us into the realm of truth. And we're not going to find any in the realm of man-made laws. Not much. Precisely. Because it's all for manipulative advantage, all of it. And then you end up with this, Keith here talking to us, thinking that he's some elder statesman or some great leader and some great communicator. It's tragic how deluded and sad and inept and pathetic and low-grade and useless they all are. Of course, reform is being lined up over here to recover the situation. What a load of horseshit. Good grief.
Crumbs. There, I don't know, did you get any leaflets through your letterbox from Reform? Because I did. Unfortunately, I've chucked them all away now. Mm-hmm. It looked like a 5-year-old had designed it. It was the worst leaflet I've ever seen. From
I don't know. 5-year-olds do some pretty good things every now and again, Eric. It's not the people that are in the party that I'm having a go at. In fact, I was thinking of actually going up to the local reform club or whatever it is to find out the cut of their jib. I'm interested in sort of human interaction with people to find out what it is that's really making them tick. But I don't think I'm going to be too surprised. What it is, it's, this is going to save us. That'll be at the base of it. It isn't. People need to be brought, and it's a very difficult thought, this. Please look back, if you can, think about all the governments that you've had to endure since, let's say, 1945, because there are people around who've had to endure all of them. They're maybe in their 90s now, but they've had to endure the lot of them. Please tell me when any of them ever did anything of substantial benefit to you at all, without some massive cost, or you've all got to contribute this. It's a permanent situation where we pay for their mistakes, and everything they do from our aims is a mistake. We don't need any of these things. Not any of them.
No, I don't think the governments are making mistakes. They're doing exactly what they're doing. They're on track. They've done an absolute genius job of destroying this country from within.
Yeah.
So they're not making mistakes. They're just blaming it onto us. And you look at what happens. That's a typical narcissist. A narcissist will always blame you for what they do themselves, because it's taking the onus away from them. Mm-hmm. And governments are the most narcissists you could ever wish to think of. Yep. When you look at the way our money is devaluing all the time, very few younger people now can afford to buy a house. That's all being taken away from them.
Mm-hmm. And that threat, you see, that threat is playing all those human beings that dress up as policemen and think they're policemen are unaware of the fact that they've lost any respect that the British public may have had for the police force has evaporated. This is also by design. This is This produces more anxiety because people now realising that there isn't a reliant sort of insurance on the ground. The Bobby doesn't exist anymore. He's been phased out, intentionally so. Like, all these little sort of, no matter how sort of half-hearted or pathetic we may have thought they were in the past, they existed. They were like little guardrails against things. And just having a few of them is reassuring. They're all gone. That we don't actually have a police force worthy of the name. But they've got a lot of power. And this is why they're bullying and doing all these terrible things to people over supposed hate speech. Because it seems to me that the culture within inside the police force is chewed up. They're not sure of themselves. And when any group, whether they're politicians, the proles, that's you and me, everyone, us peasants, which is a nicer word. I much prefer being called the pleasant peasant or something like that. Or the unpleasant peasants. Fine as well, isn't it? So peasants, the police types and the politicians, whenever those groups feel as though they're getting out of control, they start to behave really badly. And I think the political class is literally unhinged. And I mentioned it here before. They are mentally unstable. Not because I'm just saying so. Just look at how they communicate, how they behave, what they think, how they think that we are believing them. The sad truth is that unfortunately a huge number of people do go along with it. I think there was a comment in chat about that. Someone had asked people and they're just thinking, well, you've got to go along with the government. Also, this interesting comment from Billy Silver, because I want an answer to this, Billy. You've piqued my curiosity. He writes, looking back, Parkinson was, of course, a pathetic man. Yes, I do like he was. What was it that Kenneth Williams called him? Do you know, Eric, what did Kenneth Williams call Michael Parkinson?
No,
was that on it?
I don't know.
I can just hear him saying, "Oh no, Mason." We can just hear Kenneth Williams saying something withering.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what he called him. All I do know, I know this is a family show. I'll be very polite. I look on Michael Parkinson as a kind of wet flatulence. I mean, these talk show hosts, they're, I don't know, it's something just empty about him.
I think I was captivated by him, actually, when I was a teen. I was kind of captivated by him to a degree. Yeah, it was Saturday night, so I'm early teenage years. What is it? I'm 12, 30. That he managed to talk to a lot of actors that were in what's called the golden age of Hollywood, the 40s and the 50s. Jimmy Stewart was on a few times. Yes. Some people hate Jimmy Stewart, but I'm not one of them. I really like Jimmy Stewart. I'm not saying he's the best actor in the world, but I just find him very likeable. And that'll do for me, So apart from which, he's in It's a Wonderful Life, which is one of the most wonderful films ever made. I know it's all that sentimental mush and schmaltz and everything, but it's got a great, powerful meaning in it. Again, him devoting himself to his family means obviously he hated everybody else. Of course, he doesn't in the film. And he had Orson Welles on, who got larger and larger with each subsequent interview. And
he's alcoholic, wasn't he? Yes.
Yeah, he was. But I mean, that was one where he asked him about, I think there's a clip, I don't have it here, but I need to collect all these things up because they can be replayed in a couple of years' time as the show keeps moving through. I need a complete sort of archive of these things. I think he was talking to Wells for him to define politicians. He was talking about what are politicians. He said, well, they're what I've always said. They said they're actors. And they are. Oh. The current one that we've got is absolutely useless. He wouldn't even get a role in Coronation Street, would he? He's that bad. Or maybe he could play Benny in Crossroads. This will be lost outside of the UK. But wasn't Benny, not that I ever saw this, it wasn't Benny this sort of dopey guy with a beanie hat on or something?
Yes, that's
and
it.
Just, he could maybe do that. He's probably ideally, or he could, they could do, some mothers do have him, and he could reprise Michael Crawford's role. Yeah.
Well, he was to acting what Cyril Smith was to hang gliding in many ways, wasn't he? Really, it's sort of anybody that remembers Cyril Smith,
The paedophile, you mean? Cyril Smith,
yes,
the paedophile.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And as Reconciliation has just said in chat, James Stewart played the part of Charles Lindbergh, and he did a very good job of it. I think it was a 1957 film, 1957. He did. Very good film that was. I've seen it several times.
Yep.
Jimmy, because do you know that Jimmy Stewart was also in the American Air Force during the war, and went on many bombing missions and had a few close shaves. So he didn't. He wasn't kept out of the front line at all. He was right in the front line, and he became quite a senior rank in the American Air Force.
He played Glenn Miller as well, didn't he, in the Glenn Miller story?
Yeah, he was better. He was better actually at Glenn Miller than Glenn Miller was himself, wasn't he? Really?
Yes, Glenn Miller had a very square head, didn't he? Very square, that head of Glenn Miller's. Very prominent brow, but yes. Yeah, no, he's been in some cracking films.
They reckon that they found that they've solved the mystery, haven't they, Glenn Miller? Because it was there was a bombing raid, and the target was covered in cloud. And there was an area in the channel where they used to drop their bombs before they could land because they'd taken all the priming pins out and that, and it was a bit dangerous. I don't think you could reprime them. And his plane just happened, a Norseman I think it was, just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when they were dropping their bombs. And a bomb dropped on it. And I think they may have located his plane in the channel somewhere. Because there was a lot of theories that he actually lived. It was his death was faked, etc., etc.
Oh, those stories, yeah.
Yes,
no, I'm not familiar with that, but I mean, it's a typical story they roll out for certain famous people. Yeah, he escaped or she escapes, and Michael Jackson's now running a karaoke bar in Thailand or something, or whatever it might be. I mean, maybe he is. I don't know. Yeah, but I could make them up. I can make headlines up too. You could as well. We can all do that, can't we?
Well, that's right. But I think that it's a bit like, did Mr. H get to Argentina or not? I don't know whether he got to Argentina, but I think the evidence is more that he didn't. No. But it makes a good story, doesn't it? That he got there.
I know Mr. Cooper, I've forgotten his first
films.
name, who's on Jeff Rents, has made, has devoted his life to proving all this kind of stuff. But I think it all gets a bit tenuous. There are all sorts of reasons for it. You have to assume so many things. I mean, it may well be, not just in that case, that the Black Hand, as it were, the deep state, the CIA, or the forerunners of it, the OSS and MI5 and all that, they're in a different world. They are in a different world, and they do have the power through their ready and easy application of assassination, violence, and all sorts of other manners of bumping you off to be able to get their way or to act, in the best interests of whoever wants them acting for them. And so they're able to disguise things. So, if you assume that he did make it to Argentina, not that I do, then maybe covering it up wouldn't have been that difficult. But I just think that there's so much vested interest in having that story run for a bit. And that there's always gazillions of different stories and alternative narratives that spring up. No doubt one of them is probably likely to be pretty close to the truth.
Well,
but would it make too much difference even if you knew it? I don't know.
The closest to the truth, I mean, you got to ask, why is it that Goebbels shot himself and his wife and his children were poisoned? Why do you do that if there was an exit out? And the other thing is that I do believe that that Mr. H and his missus were thrown into a mass grave, and two people that looked like him were put into a false grave. I know that. I think that is the possibility.
Yeah.
Because they never found the bodies, and I think that his close companions did that. So I do believe that he's buried in a mass grave somewhere, along with his wife Eva. So that's my theory, anyway. But it's quite good. And I mean, I think the funniest one was that he got away. The British got him away. Operation Winnie the Pooh. I couldn't stop laughing when I heard that one. And he went to Spain. Well, he and who's the Spanish leader? What's his name? Franco. Absolutely detested each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. H once said that he'd rather have his teeth extracted without anaesthetic than meet Franco. So
nice. No, nice. Actually, just whilst we're on this thing, Mer Bailey says that it's sharkhunters.com, which is Harry Cooper's site, and EXO, who's quite close to this, much closer to me, says that Harry is a lovely guy that wouldn't lie. His contacts from World War II are astonishing. They are, and he's a great listen when he's on with Rents regularly. I admire his work tremendously. I've not caught as much of it as I probably should. It's not a subject that draws me in full on. The thing, as people here probably know, the thing that fascinates me the most is the fact that they got so much right in the 30s, which I think is the reason why it had to be removed from 1939 onwards. Everything about it basically was stressing many of the points that we talk about here. Of course, this means that I'm a Nazi now. You're a Nazi, aren't you, Eric? We're all Nazis now,
Well, I'm
a
some
Nazi.
Nazi toast this morning. It's
Me too.
marvellous. Did you have any Nazi marmalade?
I did, yes.
Yes.
Although I don't know, did the Nazis have marmalade? I mean, if they didn't, they were missing out on a right treat, weren't they? Is marmalade a uniquely English thing? I don't know. I always think, boiled oranges and things like this. It's just tremendous. I love it. You can never get it rough cut enough, though, can you? It's always this jellified stuff. I hate that. I want all the lumps of the orange rind in there and everything. And I've started eating, what's the bread I'm eating now? Is it sourdough bread? It is that, isn't it? Sourdough bread?
Sourdough, yes.
I love it because I don't
sourdough,
bloat. It's bloatless. They should put it on the thing. Eat this bread, you will not get bloaty. All the other bread, you just go bloaty. You end up sort of like a barrage balloon about 20 minutes after eating stuff. It just swells up inside you, So,
That's what it's meant to do, because apparently, I mean, if you look into the history of wheat, I don't want to go off on another subject, but it's not very good for humans. Wheat and sugar are two poisons, basically. And that's why I'm a goody. I don't eat any. I try to avoid. I don't always achieve this. Anything wheat products, and even though I'm a chocoholic, sweet products. So that's it. But I've noticed here, Ma Bailey said Adolf died a natural death, February the 13th, 1962. So there we go. So maybe he did. Maybe he didn't.
Say some. Yeah. and maybe there's overwhelming evidence to prove that, but I'm unlikely to come across it. Because there are so many other things that are actually catching my attention more than that, to be quite honest. I'm not overly concerned about that.
We'll never know.
No.
We'll probably never know. That's
Although, obviously, Harry Cooper says he does know, and he's... maybe I should contact him. It'd be lovely to have a chat. He could persuade me and bend my brain out of my ears and everything like that. But it's not a topic that I'm feel naturally drawn to. I've been aware of it for years. I think Shark Hunt has been around as a website for a long time. So I've kind of glanced at it, but it never kind of drew me in. It's not the war that's the... I mean, it is a key thing. It's obviously a major thing. But it's yet again this clearing of the decks. What's that phrase? I mentioned it last week. I think it's, whenever things get out of control, the bankers start a war. That's really the gist of it. And I'm still fascinated with that. I think I've mentioned here this book I've got floating around, Eric, called And Forgive Them Their Debts by Michael Hudson, 2017. And I've just scanned it and glanced it over the last I think I got it about 4 months back, and I've got piles of books to get into, but it's now in my paw of an evening. This is the one I'm about to go through, and I was reading some of it last night. It's absolutely... Excellent. It's fascinating. It really is. I mean, much of it, of course, is highly detailed stuff about Hammurabi and Babylon and the forgiveness of debts, but it's the human forces at play. And really the war, one key aspect of the war, as it were, between darkness and light, let's make it all Star Wars-like, but that's the reason why these things are so effective, is that the creditor class, the people that have a bit more money than everybody else, left unchecked will get it all. I think a good analogy would be like playing poker. Not that I play poker, but it's a game of skill and psychological bluff and all that. There's much to recommend it, although it's played by maniacs who are quite happy to lose $100,000 on a hand. But that's me, timid old little pauper northerner me. I couldn't possibly do things like that. But if you sit down to play poker and you've got £10,000, and it's no limits Texas Hold'em, which means you can stick in what you want. And the guy on the other side of the table has got £300 trillion, right? Just for starters. You might as well just give him your money now. There's no point even going through the farce of playing a game. And that's kind of the situation that we're in. This money power thing, it surfaces in just about every crook and nanny, every nook and cranny of the way that we operate. And so it's that internal fight, I guess, to some degree that we've all got. And they're making it more difficult currently by raising the price of every single bill willy-nilly. This is not a normal economy. No one's talked about supply and demand or the movement of prices in a sort of even semi-rational way in the mainstream media for years. It's just goofy. The whole thing's mad, of course, but it's designed to be that way. Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody questions that the price of bread stayed the same for 100 years, from Napoleonic Wars to the early 20s.
Yep.
So it's over 100 years. The price of bread was the same. It never changed. And how comes? And I mean, usury is designed to just remove your goods, to remove. It's a kind of what is a slavery. You're just being drained of your finances, And I noticed in chat, by the way, they were still going on about Mr. H. And I'll tell you another conspiracy that you got to look up. Will they ever be able to land a man on Anne Widdecombe? That's another conspiracy. Or have
I don't know. I never believed that footage when they did. I thought that was all made. I thought that was when they did try to land a man on Anne Widdecombe. That footage was it was rather suspect. I found, Eric, didn't you?
It was, yes. It was, yes.
It's a bit worrisome, I thought. Although I do like Anne and her high-pitched wobbling voice. It's quite. She's got conviction. You've got to give her that. Is she in Reform now? Is she a Reform Party candidate or something, or is she involved with that?
I don't know. Hang on, let's type it in, find out, see where she is.
Why? Have you got that internet thing? It's quite clever, isn't it? You can find things out. Yeah. I mean, although I'm sort of bad-mouthing Reform, I don't mean it in terms of personalities. It's the overall context of, hey, look, White Knight coming to save you, please, please. I mean, they've been lined up and designed for this purpose, and I'm afraid Farage's track record of destroying genuine things is considerable. right? It's not that I don't like the guy for a beer, maybe. Not that I'd ever have one with him. I don't even drink beer, so that'd be rather useless. But, he's affable, he's charming. He's got the sort of the gift of the gab. He's got the sheen of the salesman, and you quite like him even though you know you're being sold to. You don't mind. He does it so well. There's that kind of thing, and that's okay. But in terms of him reforming things, we will have to see. They're all basically limited in their language. No one can actually talk like a grown-up. It's baby talk that we have to listen to. Imagine if they had to listen to sort of those thunderous speeches that Mr. Hitler was making in the 30s. People would be just crying, you can't talk like that. What, truthfully, about the real state of affairs, about what we actually have to do if you want to preserve your way of life. Of course, the whole idea here, as you well know, is to not have us have the ability to preserve our way of life, and is to have it incrementally, with ever increasing speed, removed from us. That's obviously what's taking place, isn't it?
I looked up Anne Widdecombe. And
that's
she was young.
Say that again. You've just looked up Anne Widdecombe. I wouldn't wish that.
I've just looked up Anne Widdecombe.
Steady. This is a family show, Eric.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, and sorry, got me the giggles. And she is a reform lady. Yes. So there we are.
Right.
So she is the. Hang on. She is the. Where is it now? Immigration, I think. Reforms UK's immigration and justice.
Mm-hmm.
So there we are. But no, when she was younger, yeah, she was.
Stop it. Stop it now. I've got to go to sleep tonight. This is worrying. Stop it. This is far too much.
Yeah, she's got. She's got the reform rosette. But do politicians actually knock down the doors now? I don't know. I haven't seen them for years. Do they still do it? Or is it just a sort of a, I don't know, one of those things?
I don't know.
I mean, do you see it? Have you seen any politicians recently knocking around your door?
I beg your pardon. That's not a euphemism for something, is it?
There's elections, you never...
No, I haven't.
I'm going to talk about that bloke with the trousers back to front. Is that what it was? We're on the same subject. Of his
Zelensky?
Back to front?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, with his flies down.
Zelensky.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, perhaps he was. There's Action Man, and perhaps he was. Was it Man Looking for Action? Who knows? Sorry.
Gosh, it's all getting a little bit.
But it's weird. I mean, as you said, I've never put my trousers on back to front. I don't think any man has. Very weird. Anyway, that's right.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Sorry.
No, I was just thinking as well, just about leadership. I know you make your point about leadership and everything. I guess my view is that it happens as an event, or should do, and there should be a period when it's over. The problem is it's become institutionalized. So, I'm the leader and now my son's going to be the leader. This whole thing with kings handing it down to sons. And of course, if you look at the history of England, particularly under the Tudors, that wasn't a very peaceful time. Let's put it that way. Lots of men roped in to fight and kill lots of other men so that, Bob could be King Bob or King Harry or whoever it was going to be, But one of the things about in the title of this show is, it says the law. And what I'm referring to when I put that down is not this ever-expanding body of laws made by men, by the laws of the city, which are basically guide rules that they apply to ensure that their position as the hefty creditor class is retained. That's really their top priority at all costs, because, as I've said before, they've grown accustomed to this over thousands of years. It's like in their bones that this is how it's going to be, and that's that. It's not going to be any other way. If you look at the sorts of uprisings, they have been amazing, but very, very few. There should have, if you think about what's actually being done to us, but like you've mentioned before, people would rather keep what they've got. I totally understand that. It's just that the quality and caliber of our life is so low these days, has dropped so far, that we can't sort of find it in ourselves to get back to it, to get into a position of getting a hold of these people. I don't mean literally, but so that they would listen, that they can't listen. It's the most ridiculous situation. So, again, although we're paying attention to this aspect of it, my thinking at the moment comes back to that local peer groups is the way for all of us to go, purely to retain some sanity, which, of course, as you mentioned to me and I was talking with you prior to the show, doing these shows, I think on a personal level for both you and me, is part of a sort of sanity retention self-service that we provide ourselves. It's to stop ourselves going completely out of our gourd with it all. Yeah.
It does. And I think that really, as I said, we've got our best weapon, humour. We've got to laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh at them all the time. All the time, because they are funny. They're weird. But I've got a feeling all the way to I'm optimistic that something's going to change, something's going to happen that we least expect. And that generally happens in history. And something for the good that we might think is the bad, but it might be for the good. Because one thing is for certain, it can't go on for much longer the way we're going. It's absolutely bonkers. It really is. So I think whatever it is, we will not expect it. And nor will the elite see it coming. Whatever. I mean, let's face it, I think the internet was the elite's mistake because they let the average person get it. And as the average person, and they couldn't very well keep it secret, that has expanded our knowledge incredibly. Because anything we want, we just look it up immediately. All of us have got the finest library in the world. Incredible.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. Eli has arrived, but it's rather worrying because he's got his video camera on and he can probably hear us. And Eli, you've got to put a shirt on. I can't look at that. Also, your sound, he's laughing here. I can see.
Sight.
Yeah, no, I brought him, but your sound, Eli, I know you can hear is very, very bad. So when I brought you in, we were just getting echo everywhere. Let me see if we can do it again. You can turn your webcam off. In fact, I wonder if I can turn it off because, some of us have got to sleep tonight, Eli. It's not right. Let me just add you to the stage. I don't know if I can.
Has he a note from his parents for
hang
the late? And what do you think? Give him lines?
Just a minute. Let's have a look. Let me unmute you now.
Oh, okay.
Hi, are you there, Eli?
Hi. Yeah, I'm having to set my audio. Sorry. Here, I'm almost set. Okay. How's that? I got my headset. Now, you don't have to have the video on.
No.
But the reason I'm topless is why you're complaining is because we just had a downpour and it's 100 degrees outside and 100 what's percent humidity.
Right. All right, your sound's okay now. Yeah, your sound is okay.
Good.
Okay. All right. So because you've had a downpour and 100% humidity, we've got to watch you without a shirt on. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I can turn my settings. Yeah, I can turn my video off.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
It helps
see if you can
as well.
It's not that you're not a handsome man or anything. It's just that I can't concentrate.
Well, it's a family show, isn't it?
It's a family show. Right. This is going out to millions, Eli. And
what's that family? All in the family? Right.
Steady.
I don't know how to turn my camera off.
Yes, I can see. I'm actually going to have to disguise it on the. Well, actually, your video feed's not going out. Me and Eric are seeing. Anyway, Eli, have you met Eric? Eric, have you met Eli? Let me introduce you.
No.
Eric, this is Eli. Eli, this is Eric. Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
hello. Hello, Eli. What state are you in?
Semi-dressed one.
So you could say, Eli, where are you?
I'm in Arkansas, but my main residence has been Chicago for the last 70 years, right? But I'm traveling between Arkansas and Chicago occasionally. So, yeah, I'm having fun here. And the only difference between Chicago and Arkansas is there's a lot more whites here. Right?
In Arkansas,
say white?
You are. I think you are. Any knock on your door, Eric? Have you heard a knock on your door? No, I think white's okay.
No, not yet. No.
I think we can say that.
That's my landlady.
We're frightened of getting dragged off by the Bolsheviks in this country,
Well, Eric, I mean, Eli, it's great to have you back. Yeah, well, yeah, it's great to have you back. It's been quite some time, and quite a spectacular entrance there into the show. What I've done, just to let you know, is I've taken my sound mixer screen and I've put it over the screen here, and now I can actually comprehend what you're saying without the visual. It was just too much for me. It's amazing. So, those of you that don't know, Eli James has just joined the show. And Eli, before we get into sort of the meat of whatever we're talking about, because we've got about another hour and 10 minutes. Are you okay for that time to run? Yeah. So
I sure am.
Oh, cool. It's fine that you've rocked up a little later. It's not a problem. We've been having a fun show, really looking at all of this sort of immigration stuff and things like that. But before we sort of touch on that, because we're coming to the top of the hour and I'll play a song in about 10 minutes, maybe now would be a good time, because you've had a few challenges recently, haven't you? I mean, I'm kind of amazed that you're actually here to do the show with us, and people that wouldn't know. So we're going out of a Eurofolk radio. We're going out of a radio soapbox. We're currently still on WBN 324 for the next 10 minutes or so, but we carry on with the show. But maybe you'd just like to fill people in as to what's been going on with you recently, because it's been quite a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've had a total makeover on Eurofolk radio. Thanks to you, we got the problem solved. And thanks to a guy named Josh, because we had all kinds of audio issues there.
Yeah.
And I had quadruple bypass surgery, which hooray! I'm back to almost normal. You know, I can't dunk a basketball yet.
So let's say that again. You just raced through that. So it was quadruple. Yeah, it wasn't triple. It was quadruple. Yeah, you can't. Is it? Quadruple. It's not possible to have a quintuple bypass, is it? It can't be.
No, because it's the external arteries around the heart that feed the heart from the outside.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's basically feed the muscles from the outside. And but actually I had a quintuple because he actually replaced the artery from my neck up to my brain. And I seem to have gotten a restored sense of humor after that operation.
Wow.
Eric, a restored sense of humor, as you were talking about earlier. Right? Okay. But sarcasm will do well.
It will. I'm just intrigued by this. I didn't know about the other artery. I know you don't really want to talk about it. We'll move on quickly, but just to satisfy my sort of weird have you got any arteries left then anywhere else in the rest of your body, or did they nick them all?
Well,
where have they come from?
Yeah, no, he pulled the artery out of my right leg from my knee down to my ankle.
Right.
And apparently that was enough to replace the arteries around my heart and neck. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and he told me what he was going to do before. He said, so he pointed to my neck. He said, I'm going to replace this one, and then pointed my chest. I'm going to replace 3 of these, and it turned out to be 4. And so I've had 5 arteries replaced, with 1 long one to replace 4 short ones. And so far, so good.
Wow. So how's the right leg then? Does that still work, the right leg, or is it a bit sort of weird?
Yeah. I was expecting, maybe poor circulation in my right leg but he pulled out a vein. I pulled out a vein, not an artery. Okay.
All right. Okay.
I think taking out an artery would be a little more precarious. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think they have to, because you know the difference between a vein and an artery, don't you? Medical question.
Go on. Yeah, I kind of do. Arteries are the ones that take blood away from the heart, and the veins are the ones that take blood back to the heart. Is that right? Or have I got it the wrong way around?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you got the right. But veins have to have back. What do you call them? Backward. Oh, what they call them in plumbing? There's a plumbing term for one-way valves.
Right.
Veins have to have one-way valve so that when the blood pumps in an upward direction, it moves the one-way valve up, and then when the heart stops pumping, the one-way valve comes back and blocks the blood from coming all the way back down,
right?
And having to start all over again. Yeah, it's a great design, actually. We have to thank the Father for coming up with that design.
Yes.
And so I figured, I hope he puts the veins in the right direction, so they're not clogging me up, and they're allowing the blood to flow properly. Okay. I hope he learned that in surgery school. Okay. But he seems to have done a good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. And, but the recovery, I have a huge scar on my chest.
Really? I'm surprised. Honestly, scars. He couldn't even do it. Of course you do.
Yeah, he couldn't do it.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're coming up with new techniques all the time, but they haven't figured out how to do that one yet. Because they have laser surgery of all kinds, right?
Yep.
But they haven't figured out how to do that with your heart yet. Okay?
No.
But I'm sure they want all that money. $350,000 worth of surgery is a good payday.
How much?
$350,000.
God, you're a rich man.
Yeah. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man.
Holy moly. Gosh, well, it's a big op. It is huge. It's an enormous operation. I mean, I can't imagine anything much you could have bigger other than a heart transplant, and thankfully you didn't have to have that, I guess.
Right. Yeah, because they probably would have used the pig heart, and I would have objected to that.
Yeah. It would put you off
eating. That's been done, though.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's a bit weird, isn't it? I mean, it's odd that we're not supposed to eat pigs or anything like that, and yet they use pig hearts.
Right, yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because all the cannibals say that humans taste just like pig. So there must be some resemblance. Okay?
What, you mean like smoky bacon?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. Were you aware of that, Eric, that we taste like pigs?
Oh, he got kicked out of the studio. I saw.
Oh, he does.
A note here.
Did he? Has he gone again?
He's yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, let me add. Yeah, he did. Let me add him back on. Eric, are you back on now?
Oh, he's back. Yeah.
Yes. I'm back on. No, just what happened? He went silent as usual, and I've had to come back into the studio. So it's Rumble. That's what's doing it. So you was going to say you had a question for me. So what was that?
Yeah. Did you know that we taste like
humans
pigs?
Tasting like pigs.
Yeah. Apparently, we taste like pigs.
No. But
bacon.
No, I know someone had an ear transplant with a pig, and they had problems with crackling. Sorry, terrible. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Hey, who's that snorting? Somebody was snorting.
Snorting.
Was that deliberate? Or force of habit?
Oh gosh.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Listen, we're going to go to a song. We're going to go to a song. Eli, have you got any requirement? Have you got any request for a song? Is there any song you would like? I've got one lined up here that's quite nice, and it's just easy for me to press this button. So, apart from it's inappropriate, but we just quite like this song. Eric, you mentioned it the other day. We've been covering a few war things. I actually just like this song anyway. It's The Man with the Big Cigar by Charlie and his orchestra, and I thought we ought to just play it. Really, because
Charlie, yes.
Yeah, this is nice. So this is this jazz band that Goebbels put together as part of the sort of counter-propaganda thing. Yeah, that's right. We all know this. Everybody sing along. So we're going to play this song and fade out here from WBN. So we're at the end of our 2-hour slot with you on WBN 324. We'll be back again, of course, at the same time next week. That's 3 p.m. US Eastern, 8 p.m. in the UK. And we'll be with you there on WBN for 2 hours next Thursday, covering more wonderfully interesting things. But we're going to play out with this song. We're going to carry on Rumble, YouTube, Radio Soapbox, Eurofolk Radio, and a couple of other platforms as well for a little while longer. We've just been joined by Eli James, so there's quite a few juicy, chunky things that I talked about with Eli prior to the show that we're going to be covering in the next hour. So it should make for some fun discussion. Let's play this little song, Eli, and then we'll hook up and get talking after this. See everybody in about 3 minutes.
Very good.
Is the USSR. He's known around from near and far. That actor man with the big cigar. He puffs away every night and day with a twinkle in his eye. And all the while, behind that smile lurks many an untold lie. Down Whitehall Way, you'll see his car. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere, the friend of the USSR. V stands for vanquish. It's the slogan of his land. And he'll fight until it's finished, and there's no one left to stand. He'll keep the red flag flying, though hammered black and blue. For he's getting more than he bargained for, that fat friend of the Jew. So keep your chins up, one and all, and remember what I say. If Britons were to Britain true, they'd send that man away. Who is that man with the big cigar? He's here, he's there, he's everywhere, that man with the big cigar.
The Man with the Big Cigar by Charlie and his Orchestra. Although, Eli, I guess in your case it would be The Man with the Big Scar these days.
Yeah,
but
right.
yeah, absolutely. It's a jolly good tune. It's a jolly, jolly good tune. So anyway, it's good to have you on the show. And thank you for the documents you sent over. And, of course, we've been talking about the Migrant Crisis. That's how it's styled over here, the Migrant Crisis. But as I've sort of mentioned before, it's not really a migrant crisis that we've got. That's the symptoms of it. It's a politically traitorous class crisis that we've got, or a compliant political class, or whatever you want to call it. And I know that you are enduring the similar joys of something like that in the United States, aren't you?
Right. Well, it's not a crisis for the migrants.
No, they're quite happy.
They're having a gay old time.
They are.
Yeah, they're quite happy migrants.
They
that
are.
Sounds like a great title for a song. We are the happy migrants, and we will never go home again.
Don't say that. I'm getting upset.
Go home.
You've only been on the show a few minutes,
right,
and it's getting worrying.
yeah, right. Well, it should be worrying for all the white people in the world, but they don't seem to know what's happening. Right? That's the problem.
Yeah.
They don't seem to know what's happening. Right. So, did you guys talk about Camp of the Saints at all?
No,
today?
We haven't.
No?
By Jean Raspail.
Okay.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he predicted this would happen. What did he write? I think he wrote the book in the late 60s, early 70s. And he predicted there would be a time when North Africans and South Africans and all kind of other Africans and Middle Easterners would invade Europe because he had inside information.
Mm-hmm.
And so lo and behold, it's happening.
Yes.
It's called the Great Replacement, but Snopes denies that such a thing is happening. There's no such thing as a Great Replacement, right?
No.
So if you can't believe Snopes, what can you believe?
Yeah, so anybody that might be not familiar with it, Snopes is apparently a whistleblowing site, and it's to be trusted, isn't it, Eli? Because they always tell us the truth. Yeah, but in fact, it's a CIA operation or something to actually basically cloud the issues even further. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no such thing as conspiracies. You can trust Snopes. There's no such thing as Freemasonry. There's no such thing as what do you have? Isn't one of your princes a Freemason?
I think they're probably the head of it. Is it the Duke of Kent, Eric? Isn't it?
The Duke.
The Duke of Kent. I think so. Yeah. The Duke of Kent's there. Eric's just been a bit quiet. But yeah, I think it's the Duke of Kent's the head of the whole Masonic order over here. And Ugly is the name of their main place, UGLE, Ugly, which is the United... Really? Yeah, it is, seriously. It's a magnificent building. It's actually not an ugly building from the outside, but it's built along Masonic lines.
Yeah.
It's the United Grand Lodge of England. Yeah, I mean, it's very powerful.
Wow.
It's a very powerful place.
I bet.
Yeah.
I'll bet. Or was that the Duke of Kent?
Yeah.
C-A-N-T.
Oh, very witty. Okay. I like that. That's very good. You might not be wearing a shirt, but you're right. Maybe these artists have really boosted your wit, Eli. It's tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my pores are evaporating my sweat without a shirt on.
Yeah.
Okay. But Friedrich Nietzsche said the greatest export of the British Empire is Kent.
Yeah. As in C-A-N-T. Okay. He didn't mean Immanuel Kant, did he? The philosopher. Yeah, because he's one of his guys.
Well, no, Germany imported Kant to the British.
Yeah.
Right. But of course, it's an obscure word today, right? In those days, it wasn't until the late 1800s. It means actually hypocrisy. The greatest export of the British Empire is hypocrisy, and it takes a witty guy like Friedrich Nietzsche to realize that.
Hypocritical and sanctimonious talk, typically of a moral, religious, or political nature. Kant, yes, I'm familiar with it. It is. It's hypocrisy, basically. Yeah. Sanctimonious is a nice word as well, isn't it? That's quite good. But I think he's right.
Sanctimonious.
Smug British upper-class toffee-nosed twits. Yeah, they're full of that. They are. They know no wrong. You can't educate them because they're better than you oik. And, we've had a lot of that for a long time.
The Freemasons are, but I've never really known any Brits like that. All the Brits that I've ever known are really down to earth, good people, right?
They are.
But if you join the Freemasons, then you change.
You
become a snooty.
Brit. Eric might be a snooty Brit, but he's not saying anything. Eric, where's he gone? He's disappeared again. No, he's bombed out of the studio again. I don't know what it is. He seems to sort of, about 2 hours into any show, there's something goes a little bit pear-shaped computer-wise, and it's a bit frustrating. We've got to get this sorted out, because he's often over at Fockham Hall, which is where he lives with Lord and Lady Fockham. So this is all made up, of course, Eli. I'm not trying to confuse you.
Yeah, right. Ugly is made up too, or is that
no,
real?
No, that's absolutely real. That's absolutely real. But getting onto this sort of race and law issue and everything.
Right.
And thank you very much for sending those documents over prior to the show. Yeah, they're tremendous. Particularly the one covenant and race and all that kind of it's tremendous stuff. Where do you think it's possible to get this information across to sufficient numbers of people that many, many pennies will drop, that it's actually a scriptural law? I don't think it's just for us, but correct me if I'm wrong, that races fundamentally and primarily should live apart and separate from other races. Isn't that the law?
Absolutely. That is the law of the Bible.
Yeah.
And, and in addition to that, I sent you a document called The Great Apostasy, which we don't have to talk about today.
No.
But that is what my work here in Arkansas is to explain to normal Christians, which means Christians who have been lied to by wolves in sheep's clothing for at least 100 years or more. Okay.
Yeah.
Spouting nonsense in the name of Christ, and that we all need to love one another no matter what our race is. Well, the Bible doesn't say any such thing. It's because, as you know, we have this teaching from the Bible that it says, Israel shall dwell alone, which means that the true Israelites should dwell separately from all other races. That's exactly what it means. And we have, of course, in Deuteronomy 23, and I'll look the verses up.
Yeah.
But we're told we're not supposed to intermarry with Canaanites. We're not supposed to intermarry with Edomites. We're not supposed to intermarry with all these other races that aren't Israelites or white, put it that way.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to intermarry with any of these non-white races, and that's the law of the Bible. But those verses, I just came up with a great title for my speech coming up in the near future here.
Right.
The forbidden verses. The forbidden verses.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to quote all the verses that are forbidden by the mainstream denominations.
Before you do that,
yeah,
just a thing to just sort of send out to audience or listener members that are not aware of the context that Eli's speaking from and that we're sharing here, really, is
right.
The understanding of Scripture today amongst the vast majority of people that it's a book by, of, and for a chosen people, and most people assume mistakenly, but you only realize the mistake after some study. They assume that those people are the people that we today refer to as the Jewish people, and a steady, serious inquiry into what's actually in the book, i.e., can you understand the words, shows that this is not the case. And it's from this context, whether you agree with that or not, this is what Eli's speaking from. So, Eli, please go ahead. I just wanted to sort of drop that in because people might not be clear that that's where the context is for this communication. Yeah.
Well, that is, the part and parcel of what is called Christian identity, Christian Israel, British Israel. There used to be a huge movement in Britain called the British Israel, and they all taught. In fact, Queen Victoria was a devotee of this idea that the Anglo-Saxon people, and especially the British people, are descended from the 12 tribes of Israel. And especially, I was asking you, why do you think the unicorn of Joseph and the Lion of Judah are on your national insignia?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why do you? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since there were never any lions that any historian has ever mentioned that on the British Isles.
Mm-hmm.
There might have been at one time, but that would be before our ancestors. And so the essentially there's a verse in Scripture that says that I will send you into the wilderness, and anybody can actually look this verse up. It's Isaiah 11:16, which tells us that there will be a second exodus of Israelites from Assyria, which occurred around 745 BC, because we've done the historical research on that. And it was the 12 tribes that were in captivity to the Assyrians after the two houses broke up. And so most Christians don't even know that there are two houses of Israelites. So two houses of Jacob. Okay, the southern house of Judah, which consisted of Judah and Benjamin, which stayed in the Middle East to bring forth the Messiah, because he was prophesied to come through the line of David. Okay, and so the house of Judah had to remain there so that he could be brought forth and be the Messiah and claim the throne of David. But that was his first advent. He won't actually claim the physical throne until he comes back the second time, which is coming real soon, folks, real soon. And so the other 10 tribes, they got tired of being slaves to the Assyrians, so they made a pact. We will cross over the Caucasus Mountains around 745 BC, and we can pinpoint the date very precisely. And so it took them about 2 years to cross over the Caucasus Mountains, and the pass that they crossed over is still known by the local people there as the Pass of Israel. And there are all kinds of stone circumcision knives. There's graves with the skeletons of Israelites, with all kind of Israelite paraphernalia. And then they emerged on the other side of the Caucasus Mountains after about 2 years. Okay. And so I asked people, well, are you a Caucasian, Paul? I'm just asking you.
Eli, if I was on one of those detective things and I'd committed or suspected of doing a crime, and they said, we're looking for a white Caucasian, that would be me. Had I committed a crime? But that's how it would be described. Yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody here is familiar with that white people are certainly in police lineups referred to as Caucasians.
There you go.
For that very reason that you've just covered. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to play Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, nice.
And you play Dr. Watson, okay? And Dr. Watson, I've got my magnifying glass on your face, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking for a Caucasian. Could you please direct me to a Caucasian, Dr. Watson?
Well, you're looking at one.
And then what would you're looking at one.
You're looking at one,
Right.
my dear Holmes. You're looking at one. Yes.
Yeah. And if you're looking at a Caucasian, you're also looking at an Israelite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the jump. I mean, without this key, and of course this taps right into our current plight with this flood. We can cover that later on, but with this flood of migrants and the apparent inability of our so-called rulers to deal with, we can't stop it, they're coming in boats and all this other nonsense. It's all completely, it's not even half-hearted, it's intentional, this waste of time. But this taps right into that. And people, the vast majority of people being unaware of this is a tremendous stumbling block when you're just about to inquire as to why things are the way they are. I'm glad you mentioned the thing about Queen Victoria as well, because over here, you're absolutely right. There was I don't know when it is, it's about 1860s or 70s or maybe 1850s. It's the mid-1800s when this thing had taken off huge. There was an assessment made in the Church of England at the time that this doctrine, as they referred to it, this understanding that the Anglo-Saxons and other attendant tribes, the Jutes and all these other people of Northern and Western Europe, could trace their history back through the Caucasus, back to the so-called lost tribes. They reckoned in England that there was about 3.5 million congregants who had adopted this view. Let's use that word. They'd taken it on board.
Yes.
And there is this story of Cardinal Newman, who wasn't a cardinal at the time. He was in the Church of England. And he wrote a letter saying, if this doctrine takes a hold, the church is finished, to which I suspect someone like you and probably me would say, jolly good, because it's mistaken. It's actually it's teaching errors. Whether it knows it or not, it's not teaching an accurate story of things. Of course, he got so upset, did Newman, that he left the Church of England and went and become a Catholic, and then ended up becoming a cardinal, and all this, that, and the other, because he was an intellectual in that particular way. I don't want to talk about Cardinal Newman today. That we could do that in another series. But it's interesting that it had that effect. That's a huge number of people to know it at that time. And so what happened, as you said,
absolutely huge.
It's enormous. It's absolutely enormous, and it's not even acknowledged or mentioned anywhere in any history books at all.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No.
Yeah.
And then you've got that, just to wrap up this little bit, you've got that situation where the British Israelite movement developed, and Queen Victoria was an adherent of that, absolutely, and many others were, because it's unavoidable. Once you just, if it's just one sentence, you go, nah. People go, no, okay, fine. But when you've got 10,000 sentences, when you've got all this, you stitch it together, it becomes, in my view, an unavoidable truth. You just go, well, there's nobody else actually fits these characteristics. And so what they did over here, they developed this thing called the British Israelite movement. Rothschilds moved into it and put their placeman, a Jewish gentleman called Edward Hine, to twist the story from its core truth yet again. This is a repeated thing, so that these congregants now believed that they weren't the only. Let's put it that way. We can't go too heavy with this stuff because of where I live, right? Okay, but I know that you know, and other people can read between the lines, right? But they twisted it away so that people then got muddled again, and we've been in a state of considerable muddlement, which, of course, in your neck of the woods was aided considerably by the Schofield Bible, which is still apparently read by people today, which is the most ridiculous document ever put together.
Wait a minute. That was published by University of Oxford Press, so it wasn't just over here.
Oh, no. Well, they would have come up with the money for it, wouldn't they? Because wasn't it Samuel Untermeyer? Now, he has a big role to play in the agitation of World War II. Untermeyer. Yeah. But Untermeyer used to meet Schofield in a club, I understand. Schofield was a complete reprobate. I mean, he'd betrayed his wife. He was a con man. And they said
abandoned his children.
He abandoned his children. He's got literally no redeeming characteristics whatsoever, as far as I can see. I mean, maybe he was nice to dogs or something. I don't know. So they pick on this loser. They bring him into this very expensive club. They pay for his lifestyle. They say, "Hey, write us a book, will you, and rewrite some of these bits." And now in America, you've got this thing called the Christian Zionist movement, which is so deranged in right at the very start of it. It's just fundamentally wrong after the first sentence. You go, everything after this is a complete waste of time, and yet here we are with 40 million of them, are there, or something? I mean, it's a colossal number. Terrifying, really.
Like that. Yeah. The only bad thing about them is that they vote.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
If they weren't voters, the world would be a different place. Because they all vote for war.
Well,
on
we
behalf of you
we
know
did a
who.
show here recently, Eli, where we were suggesting that women shouldn't have the vote. Women's suffrage is a very bad idea. I'm going to cover that again later on, but let's not go there today. Let's stick on this because we'll go into a trillion topics or whatever. So, but please carry on.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted a bit there.
Okay, well here I had just mentioned Deuteronomy chapter 7. Let me just quote verses 1 and 2, and this is our God Yahweh. Spouting off to the Israelites, and when Yahweh spouts off to the Israelites, we and every Brit that's listening, real Brit, not a illegal immigrant, should be listening because this is for you. When Yahweh your Elohim shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, that is wherever and the word Hebrew means traveler, basically, traveler and explorer. That's what the word Hebrew actually means. And that's what we are. Our people are the biggest travelers and explorers. Nobody compares to the traveling and exploring that we've done.
No.
Okay?
Not even close.
No other group ever. Right.
No.
Okay? And that's just proof. It's just more proof of who we are. Okay? And wherever you go to possess the land, and has cast out many nations before thee, all right, which is kind of what we've been doing, but we haven't been exterminating them like we're falsely accused of. Like when we went into South Africa, when Britain and the Boer went into South Africa, we built highways, we built hospitals, we built schools, and the blacks in the area were taking advantage. We built them many of these schools and streets and sidewalks were built for the blacks, so they can enjoy the benefits of our technology. Because it does say that we would be a blessing to the world wherever we go. Okay, and so we have fulfilled that prophecy. So, but he's talking about the land of Canaan, where the descendants of the fallen angels, namely giants, were living at that time. And it says, and you cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when Yahweh your Elohim shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them.
Yeah.
That's Deuteronomy 7, verse 1. Now, why show no mercy to them? Well, as I just said, they're descendants of the fallen angels in Genesis chapter 6, and they were a genetic hybrid that could not possibly produce any good fruit.
Yes.
Okay. The leopard cannot change its spots, and that's why Jesus Christ, Yahshua Messiah, he cursed that fig tree. Because it doesn't yield good fruit, okay? And the Bible is full of these condemnations of non-Israelites being condemned. You know, for example, in Matthew chapter 13, the parable of the wheat and the tares.
Yes.
And he got finished explaining, he recited the parable to a bunch of people, including his disciples. But then when he was done with that, his disciples went to him privately without all the other people there. And they asked him, well, what's the meaning of this parable? We don't understand. And he says, you people still don't understand what I'm telling you. Okay. Yep. So basically what I just told you about Deuteronomy chapter 7, these verses are about the tares who aren't supposed to be living among you.
That's the key thing.
Well, how did they get? Yeah, that's the key. How did they get there? How did they get here? They ask him, an enemy has put them there.
An enemy hath done this. Yes.
An enemy hath done this, okay? And so they say, okay, well, should we go out and root them out and destroy them? And he says, no, because you may accidentally root out the wheat with the tares, and I don't want you to do that. The harvest is going to be small enough. Right? Okay. Right. So he says, wait until the harvest, which is right now, the end times.
The time of the ripening of people. Time. The ripening.
The ripening. And he chose tares. The tare is a specific type of weed that is to be found almost exclusively in the Middle East. Okay. And
Temulentum.
This weed.
Temulentum.
Yes.
Look at me.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I just had to show off. Temulentum. Go and look it up, everybody. It looks just like wheat, but it ain't wheat. Yeah.
Yeah. Lolium temulentum, to be precise.
Oh,
Lolium
Eli,
temulentum.
fantastic. You put me in my place. I like that. That was good.
Well, it's easy to remember Lolium because Lolita was such a fantastic movie.
Steady. This is a family show. You remember now. Come on.
Is it? Is it?
Well,
okay.
yeah, it's for our family.
Anyway,
it's for our family. Yeah, absolutely.
Lolita temulentum. Lolita temulentum. now I'm blabbering.
Yeah, that's okay.
So anyway, yeah, because we're having too much fun. But we're only having fun because we know we're the good guys and we are the Israelites, and it's a good ending for us if we obey his laws, right?
If we obey the law. If we obey the law. Yeah. Okay.
If yeah. And so the weed that he's talking about looks just like wheat. Just like wheat. Okay, so where's the amber waves of grain? And there's a breeze blowing across the amber waves of green. And then the wheat is growing straight up, but the wind that blows causes the wheat to bow a little bit, because the sun's out, the wind is blowing. But the tares are more rigid than the wheat, and their heads stick straight up while the wheat is bowing their heads down. Okay. And what's the name of the tares? I used to know that genus as well, but we don't really need to know that right now. But that genus of tare has dark black heads as opposed to the amber waves of wheat.
Right.
Okay. So at the harvest, it's real easy to tell the difference between a black fedora wearing rabbi versus the blonde and brunette people we know as the Anglo-Saxons.
Well, I couldn't possibly comment on that because I live in England, but I've heard what you said, Eli. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Did I say too much?
I don't know. We'll find out. I don't know.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. Just, we've just got to mince around over here. It's sad, but it's true. So, we have to a little. Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, I didn't use any dirty words.
No, you didn't.
If you have to edit. Yeah, okay.
No, I won't be doing any editing. I can't do that. No, this is live, and that's how it goes. So as it comes, that's how it goes out. Don't worry about that. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I'll be as careful with my speech as I possibly can without offending the censors, right? Right? Without offending the censors. Okay. So, but here, all over the world, the name of Jesus Christ is known by everybody, but they really don't know Bible. And it's even worse for Christians because they don't know their Bibles either because they've been taught a pack of lies about who God's chosen people are, and it's not the other guys. Right? No. It's us. Okay? And so he continues. This is verse 3, Deuteronomy chapter 7. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, talking about Canaanite, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Is that difficult to understand?
Well, it is if you've never heard it. And that, unfortunately, is the case for most people because these are the bits, as you were saying, addressing a few minutes ago, that are rarely, if ever, communicated because it makes it awkward to have your doors open, say, as a church, to everyone, which is what they apparently they think this is what they're supposed to do. But it's not designed for that. This is a private arrangement. Let's call it that. It's
Amen. It is.
It's based
exclusive.
On. It is just like the Freemasons are exclusive, a club I will never be invited into and would refuse if I was, because I'm not in it. I don't want to be in it. And so, we just have to draw sort of normal human parallels. People are allowed, are they not, to organize clubs and say, you are included, but you're not actually, because you don't know anything about playing the banjo, and this is a banjo club, and we don't want you turning up here, doing jigsaw puzzles. Yeah. It's a pain, right? It's silly. It is. So the law is the law. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
amen. Amen.
Yeah.
So what I say about this is, white Christians have been deceived by a very sinister foe. And that foe has pulled the wool over our eyes, while he has pretended to be your mentor, advisor, religious instructor, doctor, lawyer, teacher, psychiatrist, and even your yoga instructor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I could have added banker as well.
I don't mind if you do.
Butcher, baker.
Anything that you say bad, there's no censor limits on being abusive towards the banking industry around here. This is is our bread and butter around here. So you can lay in as heavy as you want, but because it'll all be true. It'll all be true, whatever you say. Yes.
Yeah. And so, because I've been around them, because when I was living in Chicago, I studied them meticulously, because I was a contractor and I got frequent jobs for them, and I was able to meet them closely, up personal, and often invited to their homes for dinner because they liked the quality of my work. And I said, okay, so I got to meet them up close and personal, and they're not all bad, but the problem is when Mossad comes knocking at your door and asks you to spy on a Gentile, so-called, and some of them refuse to spy for the ADL and other groups. However, many do. Too many do. And these are private individuals who spy for you-know-who. And in other words, they're called upon to spy on the good people, the indigenous people of the country, and then you get persecuted by them as a result, okay? Mm-hmm. And I have had several of them admit to me, well, for example, I was running in New Age circles for a while. Right. Because New Age religion is very much like modern Judeo-Christianity. They all believe the same stuff. And it's very much like they all believe that you can will yourself into heaven just by believing it, right? Yeah. And that's a New Age doctrine, and then you don't have to obey the law. You can make up your own law, right?
Do what you like.
They believe the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, but Jesus loves you, therefore you're saved.
Yeah.
The New Agers believe the same thing.
Yes, they do.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what modern Christianity, it's New Age religion, and they don't know it because it's taken 100 years of very slow, meticulous substitution of words for the true words that are in the Bible with this New Age language called Judeo-Christianity, right? They've substituted all this false language, and they've even used it printed it in the latest Bibles, right? And that's how they've been getting away with it, by substituting the truth with fiction in the latest translations. And that's an art. And that's a very expensive art form. As every new edition, you add another very sly, coy, subtle mistranslation. Okay, here's a perfect example. Born again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so every Christian wants to be born again, and they may have been born again many times. In fact, we had a discussion group this morning about this, and so I asked them, well, how many times do you have to be born again before you go to heaven? And one of the guys said, "Gee, I never thought of that." Right. Okay. So what is
5? Any advance on 5? 6? 6 times.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now we're not playing poker.
No.
We're not playing poker. I advance you 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do they call it? What's that poker game? Where you call? Yeah. Anyway, there's various shades of poker. So and they won't admit there's also this other lie called once saved, always saved. It's just about every denomination teaches that. Well, it's not true. It's a very sophisticated lie designed to deprive you of your salvation, because you have to obey the law in order. Jesus said, you will be judged according to your works. That's in the book of Revelation. And you brought up Revelation 12:19 earlier. only those who obey the commandments of God and have faith in Jesus Christ will get into the kingdom. Yet you have all these denominations saying you don't have to obey the commandments. Jesus did away with those.
I don't think he did.
Right? I don't think he did either, but that's what they're taught.
I know.
So, a question for you as a bystander.
Mm-hmm.
And to a certain extent, you are a bystander here because I know you don't believe that in this vague notion of born again. At least I don't think you do. So, what is it? What does the term "born again" mean to you? Or what do you think it means? Yeah.
Well, if I was to play the role of somebody who was into that, and I'm not, right? I'm not into that.
Yeah.
I suppose it would mean to be spiritually regenerated, that somehow, that if you were born again, it's as if all your sins were washed away, to use that old phrase, that you were almost like being rebaptized as a ceremony, to symbolize this.
Yeah.
And that you're suddenly going, I am now a new, clean person. My past errors are gone. I'm making a fresh start. I am reborn anew, and I'm blah, 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 blah. That's what I think that most of those people who subscribe to that, I guess that's my view of their view. That's what I suspect that they think. Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I think most. I'm going to ask that question of the flock on this Sunday because I'm sure all of them believe something like that. All right, spiritually regenerated, but even that's really kind of vague, isn't it? That spiritually regenerated, and plus, Paul says, all right, once you've been born into this. Let's call it a generation, okay? And then you get regenerated, okay? You can, if you backslide and fall away from the faith, and I'm getting more and more, even a pastor who spoke last Sunday, I asked him, do you believe in this notion that once saved, always saved? Because he just gave up his life story. He said, I was into drugs. I got married, and my wife and I had a really good marriage for about 5 or 6 years. We fell apart. I fell back into drugs again, and then I recovered my faith, and now I'm good to go, right? So he must have been born again, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that was a change of heart.
Yeah.
Yes, according to what he's told, a change of heart, a new attitude, seeking to actually, be a more honorable human being than he was when he was in a bad way. Yeah, I guess that's what you would say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, but this is all very vague and general, and there's nothing about obeying the law in there. What you just said, everything you said is very good, and everything like that should happen to anybody who is born again, right?
Yep.
But the word this is where Yahshua Messiah, Jesus Christ, is having a conversation with Nicodemus.
Yes.
Probably the only good Pharisee of the lot. Okay. And actually, Nicodemus seeks Jesus out and has inquiries of him. None of the other Pharisees even thought to do that because Nicodemus thought, hey, this guy may be the real deal because it's all the miracles he had been performing and walking on water and the like. Grace said, oh, this guy might be the Messiah. Maybe I should go have a talk with him. And he's snuck out in the middle of the night because he didn't want the other Pharisees to see where he's going.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he knocked on Jesus's door, and Jesus opens the door and said, yes. Are you looking for me? And he says, yes. And then they get into this conversation, and Jesus explains to him how you have to, what you have to do to get into the kingdom. But Nicodemus misunderstands what he says, and he says, he thought he said born again. He said, what, do I have to get inside my mother's womb and come back out again? Is that what you're saying? And Jesus says to him, no. Don't you know? You're a Pharisee. You should know the scriptures. You have to be born from above.
Yes.
The word anothen means from above. It doesn't mean again. It can only mean again in context, but you have to be born. And you look at the context, you have to have a spiritual rebirth. And that is meaning from above. What do you get from above?
God.
The Holy, yeah. And his Holy
Spirit.
Spirit. There you go. The Holy, he's talking about the Holy Spirit. And so he admonishes Nicodemus, don't you understand I'm talking about the Holy Spirit? You dummy. Okay.
Slap.
Oh, you're talking, yeah, right. Slap in the face. Oh, you're talking about the Holy Spirit. Now I understand. Okay. And that comes from above. It doesn't come from your attitude, from your reconversion or whatever, right? It has to come from above. You have to be infused with the Holy Spirit again. So if you lose your faith and backslide into a non-faithful situation, wouldn't you have to have infusion, a reinfusion of the Holy Spirit, not just good wisdom and excitement and feeling good about yourself and all that kind of stuff?
You'd have to have a connection with something higher and greater than yourself, is my take on it. I mean, people will phrase it differently, but that's the way I think of it today as you're posing these questions. That's what I would be after, purely so that I'm going to start behaving in line with the law. So I would value that tremendously, yes. Because it's a challenge.
So if you become when it's actually, in my opinion, a reference to Pentecost 33 AD, because 49 days after the crucifixion was Pentecost, when all the Israelites from the river of Euphrates to the river of Egypt congregated in Jerusalem and attended that meeting. That Pentecost meeting was headed by Peter. And he addressed them all, ye men of Israel, ye men of Israel. You have to accept the Holy Spirit, and that's when the flaming what were they, like a fire, tongues of fire, that's what it was, tongues of fire, and the doves raining down shining down from above, and they all spoke in tongues. They didn't have to know each other's languages because they came from Egypt to Euphrates, and they all had different languages, but they spoke in their own language and everybody else understood what they were saying. So that's a miracle.
Right.
Okay. I would say that's a miracle.
Yeah.
Even AI can't do that yet. Okay. All right?
No, not far off, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, not far off, but they're trying. And so this was caused by the Holy Spirit. And so the Holy Spirit settled upon them, and they were able to get this. So, but having maybe they had the Holy Spirit, but they have to get the Holy Spirit again. So the word again doesn't really capture what is meant in that verse. Okay?
No.
By the word anothen. So you can look it up, if you've got an e-sword, look up the word anothen, or just go to that verse, born again, or look it up on the internet. It means born from above. That's what it means. And it's a reference to the Holy Spirit. And that's what the Israelites, the disciples, got at Pentecost 33 AD. They got an infusion of the Holy Spirit. Okay.
Right.
But you can lose that. You can lose it if you fall back into sinfulness.
If you don't obey the law, if you fail to keep the commandments, as it were. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
There's a question here, Eli, in the chat from Aunt Sally. Good evening, Aunt Sally. By the way, everybody, if you're all wondering where Eric's gone, so am I. As some of you know, he sometimes has technical issues and he disappears out of our purview, and this is what's happened. I've sent him a message on Telegram, but he's not to be seen at the moment, so he's off in the hinterland somewhere. But Aunt Sally asks, Eli, she says, what do you guys think of water full immersion baptism? Do you think it's necessary? I was thinking about this the other day. I thought, what is it? What is baptism? What is it all about? I really don't know. That's how stupid I am. I've never really thought it was important at all. I just thought it was some aquatic ceremony, to paraphrase things. I thought, well, is that needed? But it's obviously symbolically came about, or maybe it's actually got a genuinely powerful process takes place. No.
Okay. Yes and no. It is a public avowal of your faith in Christ. It's a public avowal, and I've been trying to find. And if you take it seriously enough, it will have spiritual ramifications. But a lot of people get baptized without that because Jesus said, "Repent and be baptized." You have to be old enough to repent.
Yes.
Okay.
In other words, you have to have things in your history that are repentable, for which you can repent.
Right.
Yeah, you have to have built up a track record because it's children, it's babes that are usually baptized. They don't have anything they haven't done anything wrong, I guess, apart from throw up on their mum a few times or anything like that. And they didn't even know they were doing that.
Yeah. So the word baptismo in the Greek means full immersion. It means to immerse.
Right.
So this ritual of sprinkling a few bits of water on a baby's head does not qualify as true baptism. Okay, so it simply does not qualify. So what was her name? Sarah?
Aunt Sally.
The lady who...
Aunt Sally.
Oh, Aunt Sally, right.
Yeah.
And so if Aunt Sally has anything she needs to repent of, she needs to make a list. Make a list. Well, whether you've been naughty or nice, right? And and the same thing actually goes for communion. There's a verse by Paul who says, if you partake of communion with a half-heartedly, and not completely repent, then it's better for you not to even partake of communion. You simply don't join the group. You can go home early and not partake of communion. If you really haven't cleansed yourself and you're not clean, you shouldn't take communion. Okay,
yes.
So these rituals are much more meaningful, again, than the modern churches appreciate.
I'm aware of that fully. Because I was, for all sorts of reasons, I was going to go to a church on Sunday, and they're not. I know. I know what you're going to say. It's not that I'm looking. I'm not looking for something there. That's not what I'm going for. Yeah. It was that I was very interested to know who goes. I'm nosy. I want to know who's going, right? I'm going for market research purposes to sort of distance myself from the process, just in case everybody listening to me is getting slightly worried. Paul, what are you talking about? I understand where that is, but it said communion, and I've been sorting out a lot of paperwork around the house recently. By the way, we've only got about 13 minutes left. I'm just letting you know in terms of wrapping up time. We're going to end hard at the top of the hour. And it said communion. And anyway, I was confirmed. I didn't even know what this meant when I was 13. Seriously, I have no idea. I just did these things when I was young. I was confirmed this means I could take Holy Communion, which the more I looked at it, the less I liked it. I find it all a bit weird, this supposed symbolic drinking of the blood and all this kind of stuff. And we're getting into that space. I'm going, whoa, what's really, is this necessary? What's this? Whereas if we read it and to understand it, now count me in. I want to know where the confusion lies. And I should also drop in here another comment from Aunt Sally, because it's worth bringing it in now while we've got time. Actually, Aunt Sally, just to let you know as well, Aunt Sally's often having baths whilst we're doing these shows. And I was just thinking that maybe, Aunt Sally, a bath. Yes, you're having a bath instead of a shower or a bath. Okay. So maybe, Aunt Sally, you're going through regular full immersions when you're having your bath. But she says this. She says, as far as I know, it's about, this is to do with baptism, it's about showing being dead to your sins and emerging from the water reborn and anew. Right. And she says, I'm under pressure from my church to make a decision. Well, okay. So I just thought I'd drop that in.
Yeah, no problem. Well, what I just said to her applies. You have to make a list of what you need to repent of, because your soul has to be cleansed just as much as your body, right? And so don't worry. Unless you've kept a written record of all your sins from the time you can remember sinning, right? And
as we all do.
Repented of most. Yeah, right. Yes, we have. No. Somebody's keeping tabs. Yeah. Jesus is keeping tabs. Everything you do is recorded in heaven, right? So if you miss something,
that's a worry.
He'll remind you at the.
That's worry, isn't it?
He'll remind you at the judgment day. Yeah, what you left out. And in fact, I have to tell you this story. It's so beautiful, and I've been sharing this with everybody. these Judeo-Christians here in Harrison, Arkansas. And anyway, so yeah, a bath mitzvah.
Yeah.
And you take the water symbolizes cleansing of the body, and repentance symbolizes cleansing of the soul. Okay, so
right.
You have to do that in all sincerity. Okay, and be witness. And typically, the friends you come along with they'll know if you're sincere or not. And if you forgot something, don't worry. Jesus will remind you of it at the judgment day. But he'll be very merciful to you because you've actually done a sincere, what do you call it? Repentance and baptism at the same time. Okay,
right.
That's what it's all about. With witnesses, that's what the witnesses are there for. Okay.
Yes.
And then you come out of the water and they ask you, "Do you feel better now?" Well, I'm not sure. Something happened, but rest assured, if you did it with sincerity, there's a spiritual regeneration that has taken place, and you will be rejuvenated, even in a sense earlier of, not anathen from above, but you feel good. You feel good about yourself, and hopefully there's a spiritual rejuvenation as well from above.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, okay. So, all right. So what I've been going through with the local people here is, what's his name? Ripon. Oh, I forget what his name is. Howard something or other. I'll think of his name. Anyway, he was a big time Baptist minister, for 45 years in the Baptist ministry. And his video, it's a confessional video that he did.
Right.
And he had a heart attack. And he's being carted off to the hospital, and he's in and out of consciousness. He's basically dying on the way to the hospital. I think he actually died.
Yes.
On the way to the hospital. Howard Pittman is his name. Howard Pittman. Look him up on YouTube and watch that video. That video will simply blow you away. Anyway, he says, I was a Baptist minister for umpteen years, and the first thing I noticed was there's a hell. And there's all these people going to heaven and all these people going to hell. But I said, in his denomination, they didn't teach about hell. They didn't teach about the devil. They kind of just ignored the whole subject. But it's like nothing to worry about, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but it is something you have to worry about, okay? And this is what he realized, okay? So while he was in the ambulance, he paid a visit to Jesus. He went up to heaven. And said, okay, I'm so glad I'm going to heaven. Now open the gates. And an angel appears and says, no, you can't go in. What do you mean I can't go in? The gates are right here. Open the gates and let me in. No, you're going to have to talk with Jesus first. Jesus wants to, he wants to have a chat with you. Okay. All right. Okay. I got to wait. All right. Okay. So here comes Jesus and says, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have to send you back. He says, why? Why do I have to go back? Well, because you haven't been good enough to get in the kingdom. And remember, he's a Baptist minister. He's saying, I cast out demons in your name. I preached in your name for umpteen years, and I did all this stuff for you. And, no, you didn't do it for me. What do you mean I didn't do it for you? All 45 years of my ministry, I did it all for you. And said, no, you didn't. You did it for yourself. And then Howard said, oh my God, you're right. I was just doing it for my ego. Maybe I was doing some of it for you and some of it for me, right? He said, no, you can't be some of this, some of that. You got to be all in. And so Jesus finally says to him, now I want you to go back and I want you to do this. I want you to become an independent minister. Don't go back to that denomination you came from. And so that's what he did. Okay.
Right.
And he became an independent minister outside of the Southern Baptist Convention. And so, and his last words in this video are, well, while I was in the ambulance, I saw a bunch of people going to heaven and a bunch of people going to hell. And so the interviewer asked him, well, what kind of percentage was there? How many people that went to heaven? How many people went to hell? I said, well, okay, well, I counted 50 that went to heaven, and there were about 1,250 that went to hell. and it's only about 2.5%. Only about 2.5% of people who call themselves Christians actually went to heaven. The rest of them went to hell. Because they were just like him. They were thinking they're good enough, but they weren't.
It's tough, isn't it?
You're not the one who did.
Isn't it tough?
Very tough.
It's tough. It's tough
Yes.
to even understand what mistakes you're making at times in life. This is the thing. I've always struggled with this one, going, oh, yeah, I did that stuff, but I didn't even know any better at the time. I was so stupid.
Yeah.
I think that, whether this is just me playing with my own head, which we all do to try and sort of justify things, but that's generally the pattern. I've not led a blame-free life by any means. I don't think it's been terrible, but I've certainly made some serious errors along the way that have not been good for other people. That at the time, I didn't intend it to be bad for other people, but it turned out that way. And looking back on it, I go, you were more concerned about, in nearly all cases, it's that I'm thinking primarily about me and my outcomes, and other people's outcomes. I don't even get conscious about them. And then afterwards, I go, "Oh, you created a real mess there. That was really stupid of you." Yeah. And so the idea, all I'm seeking to do, is to make less mistakes tomorrow than I made yesterday. I'm going, I can cope with that. I can sort of deal with that.
Yeah.
But whether that's good enough, I don't know.
You're trying to do that.
Well, I think so.
At least you're trying to do that. You got your head above water, Paul.
Well, I'd like to think so. Sometimes I'm not even convinced of that. I'm going, you feel as though you're flailing around going, well, I know all this stuff and it doesn't seem to make any difference. And I say these things and nobody's listening to me. The fools. And then I'm thinking, well, hang on, it might not be them. It might be me, And have I said it right?
Yeah.
And then you think, it's tricky. It's tricky. We're down to 4 minutes, so we've got to wrap up here. We really got to wrap up.
Yeah.
We'll have you, Eli, we'll have you back on. Yeah. We'll definitely have you back.
Are your arms getting tired yet?
What, from all the flailing around?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean,
so you constantly.
Yeah, go on.
You have to constantly do this self-evaluation. Am I good enough? That's what Paul means by I die daily. He's doing the same thing. He's evaluating himself. Am I up to snuff? And if you're not doing that as a Christian, you're not getting anywhere.
Who is it? Yes. Who is it that said? Someone said. I can't remember who it was now. Is it Aristotle? Or, the unexamined life is not worth living.
There you go. Yeah. No, that was not Aristotle. It was the guy who had to poison himself.
Socrates.
I can't think of his name right now.
Socrates.
That was Socrates.
Socrates.
Yeah.
It was Socrates.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, it wasn't.
Was it not Socrates?
Anyway.
Okay, someone else. It's one of those guys with a beard that knew a few things, the Greeks. It's probably something like that. But I've always quite liked that one. Maybe that's a sin. Maybe I've just committed an error there. But I don't think so. I think it's true. I think if you're not aware of what you're doing, the impact that you have, you carry on making terrible mistakes and hurting people inadvertently, sometimes on purpose, of course, which is even worse. But it does happen.
Yeah. Well, sometimes inadvertent evil can do more harm than good. Right? And that happens all the time.
It can. Eli, I got to wrap up. Let me wrap up. I'm going to wrap up the show now. So I'd love to have you back, hopefully with some clothes on next time, but I managed to avoid that. Right. And at least we saved you your blushes in front of the audience. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for being here, rocking and rolling in Rumble tonight.
And Sally, too. Bye, Aunt Sally.
Yeah. No, great. Yeah, fantastic, Aunt Sally. It's good. She says, thank you for discussing this. And it's I never know quite where these conversations are going, and getting into baptismal things is really quite a surprise to me, to be quite honest. It's got me thinking about all sorts of stuff, because there's all sorts of there's a mix. There are things that are very, very true to me, and there are other things where I'm very, very vague and sort of cloudy in my thinking about why. I understand that why these things would have sprung up. I do understand. It's very easy to look back on the past and go, "This is nutty. It's stupid," but you're thinking. No, that's what they did back then.
We've got to go. I heard the music. We've got to go, don't we?
Good. We got to go. Let me wrap up. We got to wrap up now. So you've been listening to Paul English Live here for the last couple of hours. We've had Eric on, who disappeared due to technical problems. I'll find out later on. He's got a show coming up on Sunday. My guest here for the last hour and a quarter or so has been Eli James, who will return. Mr. Eli Quadruple Bypass James. So fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. You sound full of fire. It's been great. We'll be back same time next week, everybody. Yeah. And I'll be in touch afterwards, Eli. And thank you once more, everybody. And we'll see you same time next Thursday.
Be humble and sincere.